Hello, everybody. This is Ben. I am the coach of the Alabama Alakazams. And this is going to be an FBL recap video. I don't make a ton of videos, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of go over my season. Just look back a little bit, discuss kind of what I did each week, and how everything kind of went. Because I have made some videos in the past. I have fun doing them. I had a lot of fun this season, so I kind of just wanted to, make a recap going over it. Whether this is, you're from the FBL or from some other place, welcome. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to get into it right away after I do a few shout-outs. I want to shout out first the PBO. That's, I guess, my draft league of origin. When I started doing draft leagues, more online about a year and a half-ish ago, that's the first one that I really got into through a friend, Robert M2, who introduced me there. And I really connected. They have a great commissioner over there, Soaring Flying. Met a lot of really cool friends. And then through another friend from there named Kuma, I got to the FBL. So shout out Kuma, especially because Kuma helped me a lot with mocks. Shout out a few of my other mock partners. Shout out, Orange. Shout out Don Colbus. A lot of people who, shout out Za. Za helped me a lot with mocks this season. A lot of people who helped me with mocks this season. I do. I know mocks sometimes are frowned upon, one way or another. I do a lot of mocks personally, mainly just because I have fun with them, and I personally see a good amount of value in them, especially in terms of sequencing. So yeah, this is kind of going to just like be a more chilled, laid-back video. I've got the FBL pseudo doc here, so I was in the pseudo division of the FBL. That is the lowest division of the FBL. Honestly, I am just really happy that I got in at all. So shout out Mano, thank you for letting me in. It was a great time. Thank you for the opportunity. I think it's time to start going over. I really want to start with my draft, because it is a very interesting draft, pretty unique, but I did like it a lot, so I kind of just want to go over pick by pick what I chose. So the first pick that I got was Chien Pao. I was the second overall pick in the draft in this league, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and Dragapult went first overall, which let me get Chien Pao, which was very fortunate, because Chien Pao is a really, really broken Pokemon. It is oppressively strong. With a Choice Band or a Swords Dance Life Orb set, there's really not too many actual real switch-ins to this thing. In season, the way I utilized it is more of a Revenger rather than like a pure sweeper, because I don't usually go for setup too often, and I brought Band a lot. I think just because of the way my team ended up being constructed, I also brought Boots a lot. I mean, we'll go over the sets that actually ended up coming every week, but I picked Chien Pao. I thought it was a no-brainer. I haven't used Chien Pao before. It came to me in the second pick. It was really strong. I was really happy with it. Really glad I got it. I don't think it needs much explanation why I picked this. It's probably getting banned next season in FBL if I had to guess. It's just really way too strong in my opinion. Second pick. So obviously if I had the number 2 overall pick, it stands to reason that I would go from that all the way down and then back around, because it's a snake draft. So it would be a long time before I got to pick again. A lot of the really good Pokemon would be gone. I ended up getting Annihilape. So Annihilape is a Pokemon I've used in the past. It's a really nice Pokemon. It's got obviously its bulk up set, but it's also a good final Gambiter. It's a really good Scarfer or Assault Vester. Its typing is Fighting Ghost. That's really good for hitting Darks as a Ghost type. That's really strong, or Normals. The two types that typically have to deal with Ghosts get hit by your Fighting Stab. So it's a really good type that covers Fighting covers Ghost really well. I like Annihilape a lot. As the season kept going on, I found as a choice Scarfer. I thought that was a really strong set that I was really fond of. But this second pick was mainly made with the third pick in mind, and that was Glamora. I've actually done this specific strategy before too. Spin block Annihilape with because this Annihilate wasn't Terra, mind you, which was a decision that I think caught a little bit of flack, maybe in PRs or whatever. This Annihilate wasn't Terra; it was non-Terra on purpose, with the idea of Glamora being here and being a really strong hazard setter. You know, Glamora has Mortal Spin, so that's a form of removal. Glamora is also just really, really strong. It's got Spike and Stealth Rocks. It can be a Meteor Beam Pokemon with Rock Polish. It can also be a good Scarfer, in my opinion. I think Glamora is just really strong, and it really gives you the hazards and the removal like all in one Pokemon, which is some pretty nice roll compression on top of being your grounded poison, if you so think you need one. I know it's a popular conception that you don't need one anymore. I really prefer having one personally. I really dislike not having one. I also just really like the poison types in Gen 9. I think poison types are really strong. I like using a lot of them. I'm a big Pecharunt fan. Glamora, obviously. A lot of people don't like Clodsire. I personally am a fan. I'm a fan of Slowking Galar. That's probably my favorite draft Pokemon. In fact, second overall pick, I wanted Slowking Galar really, really badly. And I was unable to get it. It got picked, I think, like 5 picks before me. So I wasn't even close to getting it. But I did manage to get in the 4th round regular Slowking. So, kind of like just my way of battling. You know what I mean? I really like, not necessarily fat, but I like pivot heavy, and I like being able to get my HP back reliably. So it leads to me tending to really like Regenerator. I usually am very much more comfortable if I have at least one Regenerator Pokemon on my team. And that Pokemon this time around was Slowking. It's got Chilly Reception. You know, I have an Ice type in Chiempao, so there's not like a super, you know, synergistic thing going on there, but I do give Chiempao a nice defense boost, potentially, which is really good, potentially if I want to Swords Dance on, like, some weak physical attacker, potentially. It's, like, not a real combo that you think of, but it's something that could, like, show up. Or if I want to live, like, potentially a Bullet Punch. I imagine I could live one if I was in the Chilly Reception, because these, you know, these 80-80 isn't bad. Chiempao does have that, like, legendary stats, where even if it's mainly an attacker, it still has usable defenses. And Chiempao also has, you know, some pretty cool, like, recover. You could ruinate recover shenanigans, all that kind of stuff. It is a bit odd that Chiempao gets recover. But anyways, yeah, Slowking. It's my bulky water type. It's got Regenerator. It's got pivoting and Chilly. Annihilate also has pivoting. Annihilate also has like Stealth Rocks. Annihilate just has a whole bunch of fun stuff that it can help with. You know, it's got some coverage moves in like Seed Bomb. And it's got poison moves like Gunk Shot and Poison Jab to help with fairies. Just a lot of, it's got Ice Punch. A lot of cool stuff that it can use. But yeah, Slowking, I was really happy to get it. When I got it, I imagined I wouldn't be super unique with it. And I wasn't all season except for like once, I think. I brought something kind of cool. And it's just really solid, in my opinion. It's a really solid Pokemon. But I do want to move on to the next Pokemon. So the next Pokemon I drafted at pick 5. So sometimes, you know, I haven't had a Terra Pokemon yet, because my Annihilate was not Terra. Not only was it a lot of points to Terra this Annihilate, like if I go to the board, draft board, it is 6 more points to Terra Annihilate. So obviously it gets way better, but it's just so costly on top of my already 24-point Chiempao. I'm putting a lot of points in these first 2, and my Annihilate's job isn't really to be like the sweeping Terra Captain that here anyways. It's to like be Scarf, be Assault Vest, get 1 pick maybe every game, like trade 1 or 2 for 1 or 1 for 1, and then also to block for Glamora. So I wanted to get a strong Terra Captain, a Terra Captain I was comfortable with, and that led to me picking up Heatran. So Heatran, in a lot of people's opinions, I know, has fallen off a bit in Gen 9. It's not the defensive powerhouse that it used to be, but I'm really comfortable with Heatran. I've always really loved Heatran. It's always been a Pokemon that I have utilized really well, in my opinion, in Draft League across the generations. and I knew I would be really comfortable having it, especially if it could Terra out of its quad weakness, whether that's the grass or fairy. I think those are the two most common, and I think that makes the most sense. But I can also, on an occasion by occasion basis, do something more unique, or I could go fire if I wanted to and be offensive, because I think offensive Heatran in Gen 9, even without Terra, is really, really strong. The Scarf or Spec sets, I think that stuff is really, really powerful. But obviously, Heatran has a really broken move in Magma Storm, and it can also set rocks if it needs to. So now I have three pretty good stealth rockers if they absolutely need to. But Heatran has Earth Power. Heatran just has a whole bunch of coverage moves, and it can also, with Terra Blast, it can pretty much get access to perfect coverage if it absolutely needs to. And the stats on Heatran, I mean, this is the big one, right? These stats are absolutely insane, in my opinion. I love them a lot. You can utilize it physically, defensively, especially with two very usable abilities. You can block fire moves, or you can burn physical attackers, which is really, really nice. You can use it Spidef. If you Scarf it, its speed is usable enough that you can end up outspeeding some pretty fast Pokemon, and its special attack is so high that even if you're defensive, you're doing really good chip. Something that I liked to do a lot in draft. I like to do a lot in Draft League, I find, is get some fat Pokemon that can still do really good damage. Like Annihilate. Annihilate is used Spidef a lot setup. Like Heatran. Like some future guys that you're going to see. So I always look to do that kind of thing. Speaking of that exactly, the next Pokemon that I decided to draft was Zapdos. So this is a really, really key piece in this team, in my opinion. So Zapdos is kind of just an all-arounder. It has pivoting, it has healing. It's really strong while not having to put the stats into the offense, but you can still be offensive if you want to be. But it can also be a physical wall or a special wall. So this is something that was really key to me with this team. I think it's something that made this team work really well. I have all these guys that can be physical or special walls, depending on what I want them to do that week. And I have, some key pivoting pieces. This team, not everyone on this team can pivot, but Zapdos is an amazing pivot. Slowking, a really good pivot. Annihilate can pivot, especially if it's a Scarf set or an Assault Vest set, which is kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to be running in the long term anyway, since I'm not the Terra. So I'm not really doing that bulk up stuff too much, in my opinion, if I'm not Terra. So the vision I'm creating is kind of, chipping my opponent down with my walls, opening up space for my Chien-Pao to kind of clean up endgames, or even my Heatran, because my Heatran is Terra. I can open it up offensively even more than how good I think it is already initially offensively in Gen 9. So moving on to the next Pokemon that I drafted, it is my second Terra Captain. When I saw this Pokemon only was one extra point to Terra, I knew I had to get it. So this Pokemon helped with my speed tiers. It was a grass, it was a fairy, and it had one of my favorite abilities, probably my second favorite ability in Pokemon outside of Regenerator. That is Prankster. I really, really love Prankster, especially in Gen 9, where everyone loves to set up. Everyone loves clicking setup moves in Gen 9. It's really a phenomenon, in my opinion. They just like it's there's Quaquaval, there's Cerulege, there's all these other random different setup Pokemon that like to try and sweep you, get a snowball going, and Encore Prankster Pokemon basically tell you, hey, stop that. They discourage immediately, and actually in practice as well. In fact, in previous draft leagues, I've run Volbeat, a really low tier, often considered really bad Pokemon, to great success just because I always bring it on the setup Pokemon. If they hit me, that's fine. I lose my Volbeat. If they go for setup, they just have to switch, and I get my momentum back because Volbeat has U-turn. This thing is just better than Volbeat. It's got Moonblast. Because it's Terra Captain, it can Terra Fairy Moonblast, and all of a sudden it's an offensive threat. 77 doesn't seem that much, but when you're Terra Fairy with a move that's essentially Earthquake, it's 5 base power less than Earthquake, but it's essentially Fairy Earthquake on the special side, and your choice specs as well, you're hitting pretty hard, honestly. Also gets momentum with U-turn. It gets Leech Seed, Prankster. It gets Prankster Stun Spores. It can substitute Leech Seed if it wants to. It can switcheroo if you're like a Scarf or Spec set. All that I think is really, really useful. It's a utility Pokemon. I think Whimsicott's really, really strong at that role, especially with this typing. I think this typing is really good for that kind of role. Next up, a big one. So this Pokemon was not initially drafted, but it got dropped in Grace, and I picked it up. I had Mudsdale originally, I think. Hippowdon. So why did I pick Hippowdon over Mudsdale? There, that's the reason. Slack off. I think recovery moves in Draft League, at least in my opinion, the way I like to play, are so huge. They give you a lot more opportunity for mistakes, I guess is the best way I can put it. They open up the game a lot more for you, allow you to navigate it much easier. I'm in the lowest division. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a super expert battler or anything. So the way I play Pokemon is I try and make it as easy for myself as possible. You know what I mean? Every team, I'm trying to cover as many options as I can, and then navigate. I make each Pokemon individually for specific like Pokemon and their most common sets, and I try to make it as easy for myself as I can, cover the bases, and try and give myself as many chances to make mistakes while still being in the upper position. I think I'll go into my mindset of my games more a little later, but that's kind of how I go with it. And also this Pokemon's just really good on the defensive side. I think Hippowdon's slept on a little bit. Teams that aren't like super well equipped to deal with Earthquake really struggle against it, and it still gets like Yawn and Whirlwind to discourage like switch-ins from Pokemon that might obviously to deal with it. It's a really good stealth rocker. It prevents setup again thanks to Whirlwind. It's a really good Rocky Helmeter, I find. And so I don't have any Sandstream support or anything. I think this is just something that and it worked for me, so I don't know. Getting this chip is decent. It's not like a horrible thing to have going for you, is to get this chip on opponent's Pokemon, get them in range of my Chien-Pao even more. The 6% is 6%, it's still damage. So that's kind of what I was thinking with Hippowdon. I'm really happy I picked it up, as we will see soon. So next up, final Pokemon. I didn't have a Rapid Spinner. I only had a Storm Drainer, so I wanted one. And the one that stood out to me as an actually decent Pokemon, Tatsugiri. I think Tatsugiri has an absurd special attack stat, pretty decent speed, especially if you Rapid Spin to boost your speed, decent Spadef so that you actually have an opportunity to set up on like special attacking Pokemon. It has Nasty Plot, and it got Draco, and it's got Hydro Pump and Surf. And that's pretty much all it has. It has Baton Pass too. That's pretty much all it has, but, for a 4-point Pokemon, I think that's all it needs. Because these Dracos are so strong, because of the potential to set up, I think it gives Tatsugiri, in certain matchups, the opportunity to do something. That's my opinion on this Pokemon. I don't think it's like, I'm not going to sing its praises as absolutely fantastic, but I don't regret drafting it. I think it's a really solid Pokemon in certain... It's like a matchup Fisher at 4 points, which in my opinion is like really solid. And it's a decent spinner as well, I found, based on, the mocks I did and the times I actually brought it, because it did actually end up coming to some games. So with that said, this was my team in FBL. Chien-Pao, Annihilate, Glamora, Slowking, Terra Heatran, Zapdos, Terra Whimsicott, Hippowdon, and Tatsugiri. A very unique team, kind of out there a little bit fat. You know that my speed is like 135 down to 117 down to 100. So like it's not the fastest team in the world, but it does have decent recovery with Slow King and Zapdos, and like Drain Punch from Annihilate and Leech Seed from Whimsicott, and obviously Slack off Hippowdon, so that's nice. And I think people underestimate the power on this team because Annihilate and Chimpao are my physical, like really strong hitters, and then people don't look at these Pokemon as attackers often, but they really are. You know, 130 special attack, 130 special attack, 125 special attack. These three are like really good special attackers. They really hit hard. So like if you're trying to deal with Chiempao, you know, you've got all these physical defensive walls. These guys who are like walls but also dealing special damage can really break you down. And also I've got Toxic Debris, I've got Flame Body, and I've got Static, and I've got Rage Fist Boost. I'm basically saying, hey, physical attackers, get off me. Like that's kind of the idea of this team. It's like I'm usually running Rocky Helmet on Hippo as well. Any physical move has a chance to get punished with this team, which I really like, and I'm stopping setup with Whimsicott and Hippowdon. That's really the idea here. Set up hazards with Glamora, block with Annihilate, clean up games with Chiempao, or get some revenge kills with Chiempao, get some kills with Heatran Terra, chip some things down with Magma Storm. You know, all of these guys are doing decent damage, even if it doesn't seem like they will be. Stop setup and play long. These games are going to be pretty long. You know, that's kind of how I play Pokemon to begin with. So that's kind of how these guys work in tandem, in my opinion. That was kind of the idea of the team. I think it's an odd team, and I think that reflected in the power rankings, if I remember correctly. I got like 12th, if I'm remembering. So not like the worst of the worst, but definitely not the best. You know, people don't like Hippowdon. I understand why. It's kind of one-dimensional, but I do think it's really good at that one dimension. And if you laser focus on it being that role, it can really work out for you, in my opinion, if you just don't play it super predictable all the time, or if you just don't wait to bring it out at the most opportune time. And then you know, people wanted me to Terra my Annihilate. I think Terra Annihilate is really good. It's just I don't think it needed to be Terra for its role on this team, which was not a sweeper, but rather a U-turner, a pivoter, a spin blocker, and kind of just a you know, pick offer. It can pick kills. It can get like 1 or 2 every game it comes. That's really like what my vision for Annihilate on this team was, rather than, you know, being a Terra menace necessarily. That's kind of what I wanted Heatran to be. With that, I think we're ready to get into the matchups that I had every week. So my first week was versus Gwen. So I fought Gwen week 1 of FBL, and lucky me, I thought this matchup was like easily the best matchup I had all season. If Gwen is watching this, I apologize to you. I thought this was a horrible matchup for you. I'm really sorry. Immediately, what I saw was Hippowdon beats Cleavor pretty handily. And it's really good for Gouging Fire. So like if Gouging Fire is your round 1 pick, I think it was her round 2 pick. I think Ogerpon Grass Terra was her round 1 pick. But if it's one of your major guys, Gouging Fire, running into Hippowdon is just so tough. Not only do he Crash does nothing, so you have to be Flare Blitz into like the Rocky Helmet, but the Sand stops Morning Sun. It only does 25% healing. Hippowdon just makes Gouging Fire's life really difficult. It can also Whirlwind Gouging, and then Gouging loses its booster. It's just a really difficult situation to be in. Keldeo has a horrible matchup into Slowking, in my opinion, especially if you run Psyshock. You can't even do like the Calm Mind stuff to try and get through it, so Keldeo can pretty much only flip turn on it. There's really nothing else it can do. Secret Sword doesn't do enough, Hydro Pump doesn't do enough, whether you're Specs, it doesn't really matter. Ogerpon, Grass, Terra, it's a scary Pokemon, but I think Zapdos, again, one of the best answers to it. Ivycultural doesn't do anything. the best thing you can do is knock it off, in my opinion. It does get Rock Tomb, but Rock Tomb doesn't really do enough. The best thing you can do is get rocks up and then knock it off. So, like, her best ways of winning this game, in my opinion, Enamorous Therian is really strong here. I have a bit of a fairy weakness. Like, if we go to my team and we look at this type chart here, fairy, pretty good into me, and ghost, because I don't have a normal type. People say, like, when Spectra is allowed, because Spectra was allowed in this league, you do need a normal type. I'm, you know, more better battlers than me have said that, so I'll tend to, I will agree. I just couldn't find a space for one on this team personally. I will say there is something to be said about having a Pokemon on your team, like having a slot taken up just to deal with one Pokemon. I don't know if that says something about Spectrier and whether or not it should be allowed, or if it says something about like team construction in general. But I personally opted to just not really care too much about Spectrier being problematic into my team. I figured I could just probably find a solution through Terra on Heatran, because Heatran is really good on the specially defensive side if you invest into it. It's good on either side if you invest into it. So yeah, I looked at this matchup and I was thinking this is really, really good for me. Jirachi can be pretty much anything, but if it's like, you know, the Scarf set, Hippo would beat it. Tran would beat it. If it's like special, Slowking would beat it. So I was like, all right, it's Chien-Pao, it's Hippowdon, it's Slowking, it's Heatran, it's Zapdos. I brought those 5, and I believe maybe I brought Glimmora as the 6th. I don't know. We'll get into the replay here momentarily. Let's go over to my team. We can go over to some replays and mocks first, actually. So I do have a bunch of mocks that I did. Here's one versus Good Days Are Back. This is Za. I won't go over like a replay every time, but like you can have Rocky Helmet, and like that's fine. I think going over replays all the time isn't like super necessary, but essentially it becomes really difficult for him to really get anything. Like he goes Ogerpon Wellspring, but I have Ice Shard. All the mocks really showed me for this matchup is it's really difficult for her to win, or for Gwen to win. Like look at this. The storm blocks, Sandstorm blocks the Morning Sun. I get my healing off on Gouging. Gouging's doing no damage. I Whirlwind him out. I Whirlwind this out knowing it's going to set up on me, I'm pretty sure, yep. And then Hippo kind of just kills things, because my Hippo was specifically EV to take 2 Earth Powers from Sandy Shocks. And then this is like special, but it just can't deal with Zapdos. And then I just grass my, yeah. So I think that mock adequately showed how difficult this matchup is for Gwen. So, but here is the team that I decided to bring. It was Glimmora. So I just had Spikes, Mortal Spin. I wanted a hazard removal my first week. I just wanted to be able to deal with that. I believe this set is for Enam. Yeah, like I come in because Enam can't Earth Power me if I have the Air Balloon. I can Power Gem it. Power Gem also hits Gouging. That's why it's Power Gem. Power Gem also hits Cleavor. Yeah, it hits Cleavor. That's another good reason it's Power Gem. Earth Power for Pax. Earth Power for Sandy Shocks. Because Power Gem also does decent damage to Overpon Grass Edition. So I was SD Expert Belt. Chien-Pao, as we saw in that mock, this is quite effective. Ice Shard, so I outspeed the regular Ogerpon. Crunch, that's just my, stab, strong move. Psychic Fangs for Toxapex. Fizz Def, this is how much defense I needed to comfortably deal with I keep trying to say Wellspring, it's not Wellspring, it's just Graspon. This is how much defense I needed to comfortably deal with it. This is Slowking. a lot of defense, I believe, so I could take on gouging if I needed to. Yeah, and probably like Jirachi U-turns, or like take some cleaver hits as well, maybe. Like if I could take like one cleaver U-turn with this, like a Scarf Adamant U-turn, I'm pretty sure. The Spadef, I didn't really need it because it just beats Keldeo so badly. I have Psy Shock, like I said, so that if it's CM, I can still deal with it. This defense, again, the defense deals with gouging very reliably, and that amount of Spadef lets me take 2 Earth Powers from Sandy Shocks, meaning I can deal with it. And then Scarf Heatran. Scarf Heatran lets me outspeed Sandy Shocks. It lets me outspeed Jirachi if it's not speed. It lets me outspeed Cleavor if it's not Scarf. And I can really hit all these guys really strong. It lets me outspeed Gouging. I can Earth Power Gouging. I could Earth Power Sandy Shocks. I am Grass, so like I've got the ability to stay in on Keldeo once potentially. I don't have Terra Blast, but I can hit it with Earth Power or a really strong Fire Blast, and that would probably do good chip. So that's kind of like was my mindset with this team, the reasoning for all of my sets. This defense lets me take, I believe, a Cleavor hit pretty well. I think Stone Axe. Or it lets me take, I think, Gouging. Like, Gouging Dragon Claw +1 with the attack boost I could take, and I could power jump it back if I needed to. If Gouging somehow got out of hand. Because I think, like, in Mox, the only way I ever lost is if Hippo somehow went down and then Gouging started setting up. But anyways, I think that's enough explanation of the team for week 1. We can kind of go into the replay. So this is the match that I had. I'll kind of just do a play-by-play of every turn and kind of go over my mindset for what I was doing. So I lead Hippo in this match against the Sandy Shocks with kind of just the idea of I'm going to get my rocks up. It helps a lot with gouging. It helps with Cleavor if Cleavor isn't boots. If gouging is boots, then the initial switch in and there's no booster attack, Hippo really just deals with it really well. So I was pretty comfortable getting rocks up here. I knew Earth Power couldn't 2k only because of my investment. It is screens, which is annoying, but ultimately deal withable. I do have Psychic Fangs on Chienpao, so I can break those if need be. Ogerpon comes out on Earthquake. You know, it's somewhat predictable, but ultimately I just decide to Earthquake. And then I make a somewhat ballsy play here, I think. Because it's Reflect is up, it's just very obvious that this Ogerpon's going to want a Swords Dance, in my opinion. You know, you set up screens to set up, right? That's kind of what we're here to do. So, if Swords Dance is so obviously coming out, I just decide to Whirlwind. I do live one Ivy Cudgel. This is pretty risky, actually, because, you know, my Gouging Answer has a pretty good chance of going down. But I was so confident that they were going to Swords Dance here that I just Whirlwind them out to basically stop any setup that they want to do. I get Keldeo, which isn't a great pull. I would have much preferred Gouging or Cleavor. That would have put them in a really uncomfortable position. But because I have regular Slowking, it's really fine in the end. I do end up going to Slowking. It's Life Orb, so he's taking, like look at this. He's already taken 28% because of the sand, because of the rocks, because of the Life Orb. You know, all this chip is adding up, and I have Regenerators, so I can just get rid of it. Obviously, they're going to have to switch here. You know, there's no way they can really deal with me. Slowking is, like, a pretty hard wall on Keldeo. There's pretty much nothing it can do. So he hard switches, and I obviously know that that's coming. I see that this is Boots. Ogerpon. I probably saw that before, but I'm just making note of it now. So I Chili out to my Zapdos. And here, I could have U-turned probably. That's probably the correct play, but I believe I don't. I don't really see... I feel pretty in control with my rocks up because of all the switching that's going on. And because of that, I don't feel it necessary to overextend and make plays that are like predictions. That being said, U-turn isn't really a prediction play. It's just super safe in general. So, like, I could have just made it, but I decide, like, what if the Ogerpon stays in and Swords Dances? I want to just kill it. So I Hurricane. And then I switch directly to Hippo. Again, I probably could have U-turned. I just didn't want Zapdos to take any chip in case Ogerpon gets a chance to set up Swords Dance. As we see there, my EVs help me take that hit. I slack off here as they get up there, reflect. So now I'm back at full and I'm feeling pretty comfortable just earthquaking again. Ever so slowly, this Ogrepon's taking chip. The sand is doing its job, as I described earlier, letting me get the chip that I need. They get a little impatient, don't go for Sword Stance. I predict that they're not going to go for Sword Stance this time. I go Zapdos, you know, my regular counter to this thing. And I just keep Hurricaning instead of U-turning. I get the confusion here, but I don't think he just switches, so it doesn't really end up mattering. I go Slowking on Jirachi in case it's special, because if it's like special Grass Knot, I don't want to go to my Hippowdon. But he makes a pretty decent call on goes Cleavor. So now I have to take a hit. I decided to just stay in because I'm, as we saw, pretty much max defense. I knew I took like the U-turn if that's what he wanted to go for. So I just go for the Scald. And it does 40%, so that's some good damage. He goes back to Jirachi. I switch out because I don't take the U-turn now, so I don't want to potentially lose my Slowking. And now here I go right back to Slowking. Thanks to Regenerator, I'm back pretty much to full because I have those boots, so I'm not taking the Rocks chip. And if this is special, I don't want to be taking Grass Knots. But it does just U-turn, so it does look like this Jirachi is physical. But, like, even though these plays aren't, like, technically right for me, I think this is all fine just because the matchup is so much in my favor. Don't get a static there, which is unfortunate. I roost up on this Sandy Shocks, knowing that I'm probably slower because I have no speed. I'm all defense. You turn that turn. Sandy Shocks. I Earthquake. I get a fortunate roll here. If it lived, I probably would just go like Zapdos the turn after. So I don't know if it mattered too much. But my Hippo does get the roll to kill the Sandy Shocks, so we get the first kill on the board. And then I think in a bit of impatience, they go Gouging Fire, in my opinion. And they start Dragon Dancing, but I just slack off. My, what's it called? Sand is gone, so the Morning Suns will heal them. So I'm not feeling too comfortable about this, so I believe I decided to just Whirlwind them out so they lose that attack boost. And now their Gouging is really low, and essentially has a really low chance of sweeping, so I'm feeling pretty good about my chances at this point. I stay in. This isn't necessarily a sack of Hippo, but I thought it was physical at this point, and I was like, if Hippo's going to get a chance to slack off, you know, this is probably the time. Because if I come in on like a drag on the Gouging and a Dragon Dance, the next Dragon Claw will probably kill me. Luckily, I do manage to get the slack off. This is doing about 30%, so I am healing more than they are doing, so I'm just going to heal all the way up as much as I can. So after I heal up my Hippo to an adequate degree, I go Slowking. They finally get the Spidef drop they're looking for. I know they're probably switching here because there's probably nothing they can do, so I just Chili, I believe. Oh, I Thunder Wave. That's a good play, too. He has nothing that wants to actually take a Thunder Wave, so yeah, there was no reason not to do that, actually. And now I just go Hippo. The rocks are already up. Paralyzed. This doesn't matter too much in the end. Paralyzed again. That is unfortunate because I think I was just going to kill them with my Rocky Helmet and then slack it off. So I end up wasting a slack off there, really. But now they're just going to die to rocks. They have no removal. They just switch to getting a little impatient probably there. Earthquake does a juicy 22%, so this Ogerpon ever so slowly is taking the chip that I needed to lose the game. The sand is also accumulating. Zapdos, a pretty pure counter. You know, he could be Sword Stance, he could be Knockoff. I think if he knocked off, this game would have gotten much dicier, but my Chiampao doesn't even have to hit the field yet, and everything's kind of whittled to the point that it's pretty untenable that they have a chance of winning. So they sat Cleavor on my U-turn. Go Gouging, but I have Hippo in full health now, so I know it's going to be just a pure counter. Heat Crash does absolutely nothing because I'm so fat. Its base power is probably down to like 60. And now they switch out again. Earthquake, I get Jirachi. Keldeo. So it is Calm Mind to break through me, but like I said, because I have Size Shock, it's not going to work. 38%, it's decent, but not amazing. And I do want to point out, Hippowdon is getting all these rocks kills. So Hippowdon so far has 3 kills. Jirachi through Earthquake, Sandy Shocks through Earthquake, and Cleavor for Stealth Rocks. And it's going to get that gouging through Stealth Rocks too. So Hippowdon does end this game with 4 kills, which is very fun. I like that a lot. So he Ivy Cudgels, and then I know he's going to Stomping here, so I just Grass and pick that off, and then he's going to come in on the rocks and take it, and that's going to be a 6-0 victory week 1. So I think this really showed, Glamora, Chiampao didn't really hit the field. I think this game really showed my preferred playstyle, which is pivot happy and really quite fat. Usually not this fat. I usually don't play games quite this fat, but I really like to use walls to whittle Pokemon and then clean up at the end with my attackers. I do think this matchup was really not in Gwen's favor, so that is really unfortunate for them. But I did, it's really a positive thing that this ended up being, for me, that this ended up being my start to the FBL, really starting off on the right foot. With that, I'm going to move on to week 2, which was Quinn. A much more tenuous matchup, in my opinion, in particular because they had Terra Enamorous Incarnate. And this Pokemon is really, really difficult to switch into. So if we could maybe find a replay of this game. Here's one. I'm just picking replays, so I don't know if I win or lose this one, because I know I lose some replays for Quinn. So I lead Whimsicott. I have Donphan against, and I go Whimsicott. So Whimsicott picks off. Yeah, so this is the game of Specs Whimsicott. Because his Steel is King Gambit, he doesn't really have, like, real good fairy resist. It's like Entei is his only fairy resist, and Entei is, like, an offensive Pokemon, obviously, most of the time. It doesn't really want to take Moonblast. It does, like, 35 to 40, I think. So, I start chipping these down. I foolishly, in my opinion, go for rocks when this is a setup Garchomp, which leads to me pretty much losing my guy. But I'm Grass Heatran. So, this mock is kind of showing how this game's going. It shows Garchomp's really quite threatening for me. It shows Chople King Gambit, so like I knew that was probably a real possibility, was this King Gambit was going to be Choppleberry. I go for Stun Spore, predicting Sucker. I get that right. And then I go for Moonblast. So yeah, I get this right in this mock, which is nice. Take down Electrode. And then he Calm Minds. Oh yeah, it's because I was a Fairy Berry. So I'm Fairy Berry on this Annihilate, so he Calm Minds. And I ended up winning that. So it really shows how these mocks can sometimes give some valuable information. So here's my week 2 team. Here's the matchup. Enamorous. Like I said, I have a fairy weakness on this team, in my opinion. It really rips through me if it Terra Fairies. I have to be very, very careful around Enamorous, or it is just going to be me, especially if my Heatran Terras, which is why the idea was Whimsicott was going to be the Terra of this game, especially because his Fairy Resists are Entei, which can Terra out of it, and like Grafaiai. So no real Fairy Resists on this team, in my opinion. Nothing like defensive that wants to take the Fairy move. So I thought I was pretty free to Terra Fairy Specs. Start Moonblasting. I had Stun Spore and Switcheroo. I really only wanted to click Moonblast offensively. I didn't see a point in anything else. I was... Oh yeah, so I outspeed Azelf by 1 speed point. That's why I'm like nothing fancy. I'm max to outspeed that and to get as much damage as possible on Moonblast. Stun Spore, just because I didn't see a point in being like any other attack move, energy ball or whatever. There's really like no reason to have it. I was always clicking Moonblast, and Stun Spore lets me, you know, dodge Sucker potentially. Switcheroo is really good if I want to get rid of it, and also I could just Stun Spore some stuff like Enam or potentially Azelf, and or like something that was like setting up and being really threatening. I could Stun Spore with Prankster if I needed to. This like nearly max SpDef. So this is like Scarf, modest, Moonblast. I think is what this is meant to not get too KO'd by. Scarf, modest, Terra Fairy, Moonblast from Enam. I was pretty positive he was going to be Scarf. I thought that was a pretty obvious bring. I'm not bringing any hazard removal this match because Glamora and Tatsugiri aren't here. So Chiempao has Boots, which, you know, it's Boots for attack. I needed all 4 attacks. I need Ice Shard for that Scarf Enam, for that +1 speed guard jump. I need Crunch to hit Vaporeon as much as I can, to hit Azelf, to hit Entei, and I need Sacred Sword for King Gambit. So like all these moves are needs. So it's just kind of heavy duty boots so I can come in if hazards are up. You know, it's kind of a rough matchup, so I'm kind of forced to compromise my Chiempao a bit in order to have the coverage moves I need. Hippowdon, max defense again. So like here's a team building philosophy I have that I don't know if other people agree with. Sometimes you just have to maximize your role. Rather than trying to spread yourself too thin EV-wise, come up with something crazy, you just have to maximize what it is you're supposed to do, because percentages matter, you know? You never know like what move into what move you're going to have to take with your Pokemon. I want to be able to take as many physical moves as humanly possible, regardless of like half HP, like live by this percentage kind of thing. I would need this Hippowdon to deal with Entei, to deal with King Bambit, to deal with Garchomp, to deal with Donphan. You need to take those physical hits, dude. That's why you're here. That's your role on this team. So just do that, and if you can do that specifically, I'm happy. And if I set you up for failure by making you take certain special hits, then that's on me navigating the game. You know what I mean? Annihilate, as you saw. If I can bait in Enamorous and then eat my Roselli and then kill it, that's huge. Basically 4 attacks. This thing's meant to just exchange with something. Exchange once or twice in an ideal world. It's not meant to do anything. As you see, we got a really crazy EV spread. Probably, you know, I'm outspeeding, I imagine, like 0 speed Garchomp if I had to guess. If it's like defensive Garchomp, or maybe like 16 speed. I always do that kind of weird thing. I have this no SpDef, but I'm plus SpDef nature, so that I think Moonblast is like 65 to me. I need this much attack in order for Gunk to Oko Enam, I believe. That's kind of what that's there for. And I think this this defense might be for +2 Earthquake from Garchomp. I'm pretty sure that's what it's for. Or King Gambit, one of the two. Like Sucker from +2 King Gambit. I think that's what maybe the defense is for. And then I'm just plus SpDef nature so that Moonblast does ever so slightly less. I think Moonblast does like 60 something to this thing. So it does need to be relatively healthy to actually deal with Enam. But there's a whole bunch of different things that it can deal with. So like this is the opposite of the Hippowdon, right? This thing is meant to just deal with something. As long as it can deal with something, then that's good. And also it can't fall asleep. Probably should have been Defiant. Maybe it was Defiant and I just, because I copied these over and I just didn't copy it correctly. And then Assault Vest Heatran, again, trying to deal with Enam, trying to deal with Azelf. This thing is Terra Grass, just in case like I desperately need to at the last second Terra it. But it's not supposed to Terra this match. It's supposed to deal with Enam and Azelf and that kind of thing. So like, if I need to take 1 Earth Power from like Scarf, I think I can with this. I'm just max special attack. I'm trying to hit as hard as possible. Again, trying to force exchanges here. Alright. So with that, let's look at the replay for week 2 of FBL Pseudo Division. So I lead Whimsicott as I did in that mock before. Pretty much just trying to put on as much pressure as possible. I see the 6, I recognize Sinistra was also really annoying in mocks. I know it wasn't in that last mock. Sinistra was really annoying to deal with. It wasn't Terra, which really helps, but it's still, the Calm Mind stuff was super annoying to deal with, especially if you had a Colbur Berry. And it also could just like do some stun spore, and it's really hard to kill. So I know here that I just want to be able to do as much damage to Sinistra as possible before it becomes a real problem. I Terra Fairy Eye Moonblast. He Shadow Balls. I take the chip. That's fine. Me taking this damage doesn't matter too much. Him taking that damage is massive. And he didn't expect me to do that at all. He didn't expect that chip. And now his Sinistcha is really low. And that really opens up Hippowdon. Because as you see, he has 4 Pokemon here pretty much that lose to Hippowdon. If that Garchomp's physical. But even if it's special, if it's like Draco, I take one and I can slack it off. And then it's like in a world of hurt. So like the only thing that can actually like make Hippowdon switch out after this Sinistcha is gone is in Amorous. So that's really good. He goes Entei, but it takes 35 still. And I go immediately to Hippo. He's Stompings. I'm expecting... he expects Heatran here, I have to assume. But it's just so much riskier to go Heatran, and there's the payoff is so little. I don't care. I mean, it would suck. Getting burned is whatever, in my opinion, by Sacred Fire. It's like, it sucks, but Hippo's really here to wall and Whirlwind. It doesn't need to do... It would help if it could do more damage, but it doesn't need it. You know what I mean? The damage is just nice. So he goes Sinistra. I get my rocks up, because obviously he's going to switch. And I go Heatran here on Machigacha. I think he could have Strength Sapped. I think that would have been a good play to get his health back. But, I go Heatran, whether it's Strength Sap, whether it's Machigacha, which is what it ends up being. I feel pretty comfortable with Heatran coming in now on this lower. So here he Strength Saps. He gets a bunch of health back, but I am max special attack modest. So my Flash Cannon is doing a lot, along with that Sand Chip that he's taking and I'm not. And Strength Sap's not going to heal nearly as much next turn. So now my Flash Cannon comes out. Based on that damage, this is probably an Assault Vest Garchomp. I go Hippo. He details, so he has to take that chip. So now I have my Annihilate out here, and I'm like, alright, I've got Ice Punch, I can deal with this. He's got Earth Power, so I Ice Punch the Garchomp out. I take Rough Skin and I take Sand Chip, so now I'm at 57. Enam comes out, and I'm like, alright, I think this is a roll, if I remember correctly. So it does like 54 to like 61 or something like that, the Moonblast with the investment that I have if it's Scarf modest. So I'm like, alright, I'll take that, those odds. And I don't live. So, fair enough. My sand kind of works against me there. I still am an advocate of it. I still like it. Because, like, he takes 6% sand here, too. I just go Slowking. And I Ice Beam. I Ice Beam knowing there's a chance Sinistra comes out and that I can't let Sinistra recover its health. And I do get the play correct. So I know for a fact here that Sinistra, I can't allow it to get in and get its health back. That would prolong the game a lot and make it so I have a really decent chance of losing. So I know I live 2 Moonblasts from this Enam if it is the Scarf set. If it's not Scarf and I do take like Specs damage, I can immediately go Heatran afterwards. So I felt pretty comfortable making that play. It was the best, and I got the best case scenario out of it, which is Sinistra dies. He goes King Gambit. I know I can go Hippo relatively safely. I go Heatran. I'm not remembering my own game. I probably should have gone Hippo here, to be honest. Taking this chip on Heatran wasn't necessary. But I do get a Flamethrower here because of it. So yeah, he has to go Entei. It is Boots. I know this Entei probably outspeeds me. So that's why I have to go Hippo. And then I'm fine here on Hippo staying in on Donphan because of one main reason. And this is, again, the reason I like Slack Off. I like having recovery. Hippo beats Donphan just by the virtue that it can heal and Donphan can't. So when you're stuck in this 1v1... and also this Enam's Ferried, so I can just Earthquake for free. Like, there's nothing to stop me from Earthquaking. So, like... It's really, like, he just takes all this chip and he has no way of recovering it off unless he has rest, which he doesn't. So, like, I can just click rocks over and over and I can Earthquake and he's taking all this chip. And I take the same amount of chip from Earthquake, kinda. You know, the damage is very similar, but the difference is I can heal it off and he can't. And I think this is like a prime example of understanding why, you know, sometimes having recovery is just really nice. So here he goes Enam, because that's the only thing that can really threaten me out at this point. I got a Slowking. Luckily, I have the boots. And it is that Scarf Modest stuff that I was imagining it was. I think I Chili here this time. Thunderwave, that's good too. He gets paralyzed, so it's basically like I got a free switch. Unlucky for him. He has to take the chip. He gets paralyzed again. Another unlucky turn. I believe I slack off here. Yeah, a bit of a few misplays from me. I probably should have chilied, and I probably should have just Earthquaked again here on the Entei sack, because I think I get burned here. But Hippo is just so fat, it's dealing with all these physical attackers. So I think like Hippowdon was the kill leader through the first 2 weeks in the entire league, if I remember correctly. It was 7-0. I was second Heatran here, by the way, but he does Moonblast, because I thought he might Earth Power, but he does Moonblast, and I do straight up live 2, which is pretty funny. So Heatran picks up another kill, so I think Heatran has 2 kills through 2 weeks. But Hippo is 7 kills, 0 deaths, after, because Hippo is going to kill this King Gambit, spoiler alert, at the end here. I do like let him get the +2 attack. It doesn't really matter though, because I have Ice Shard and he's at 2% on my Chimpao. But Chimpao never even has hit the field yet, and Hippowdon has 7 kills and 0 deaths through 2 weeks. And it's through this method that I described before, where, you know, Hippo just deals with it deals with these 4. It deals with the physical attackers. I got rid of Sinistra early, got it really low, and then picked it off with Slowking. Whimsicott didn't get any kills this match, but Whimsicott applied the pressure that it needed to on Entei, on Sinistra, to make the game really uncomfortable for Quinn, which allowed Hippo to win this endgame. So I really think that's the story of this game, kind of the lesson here. Annihilate also got its pick against Garchomp. So through 2 weeks, I was 2-0. Hippo was the kill leader. And I was feeling pretty good about Hippowdon. You know, it was kind of funny that Hippowdon was doing so well. And then week 3 came up, and we had Josh. So Josh had a really interesting team, really scary team, especially the Quaquaval. This is a Terra Quaquaval, and in mocks, it was really, really difficult to deal with Terra Quaquaval. So here's one of the mocks. This one's against Don Colbus, someone who helped me with mocks throughout the season. So this is like the game where I believe I used standard Glamora for the first time, because I really wanted to get my rocks up this match. And to get the, you know, as many hazards as I possibly could. Icicle Crash, Fez. So I did have like Fizdef, Slowking, I believe, in this match for Quaquaval. Yeah, Thunderwave, so that's really nice. My Heatran is my Spectre answer, as we will see. That does a lot. So these hazards are just really good this match, I found. I am Terra Normal Heatran this match. So as we said before, I don't have a normal. And this is one of the main reasons I feel like you don't really need one. If you really they have a good ghost that week, and you like think you can't do anything, you can just normal your Terra Pokemon. I don't think it's as big a deal as people make it out to be, to normal your Pokemon, but maybe that's just because a lot of people use like kind of one-track offensive Terra Captains a lot of the time, when I like to use like defensive Terra Captains that can also use offensive damaging moves, personally. I saw like Yachi Body Press Tingaloo as well, although at max HP, Chimpao actually lives that in snow. So I believe Pao just picks this game off. Yeah, it does. So, you know, that was one of the less interesting mocks, but there are some, like I think... Yeah, here's a mock versus Tito. Shout out Tito, too. I think I lose this one. It's a really interesting Spectrier, if I remember correctly. Oh, and low kicks in Mox was also really... like, look at this. Holy shit, right? Tinted lens, choice band. Really broke the shit out of me. Salak Berry. Tito just came up with some really cool stuff against me. I saw Grass Knot. That's what made me change to Rindo Berry on Hippowdon, I believe. So, like, I'm winning this so far, but I still believe I lose this. Yeah, Spectrier. It's Agility Spectrier. It gets the boost, and all my guys are so low that Spectrier sweeps me. So, like, this is a really interesting Spectrier. It made me really consider being, like, Sucker, but it has sub. So, you know, it becomes a 50-50. I believe, here, let's find the actual week 3 team. Here it is. Yeah, so here's where I was bringing Glamora, Hazard stack Glamora with Mortal Spin to spin away his hazards if he leads to go for hazards. Power Gem, I was Earth Power for a long time, but I was really scared of like leads set up Thunderous, I remember now, and that's why I ended up bringing this. Just max speed, max special attack. I believe this thing outspeeds Quick Wavel by 1, so that's probably why. I want to be able to, you know, in case Quick Wavel doesn't have the speed boost, and I'm in that situation, I want to be able to pick it off if I absolutely need to, and it's like Terrad. But I was pretty positive this Glamora was going to die pretty early. I was going to lead it, and I was going to get up rocks pretty much no matter what. I really wanted them. This team had pretty poor removal because it's Quick Wavel, but it's Terra Quick Wavel, so obviously it's going to be like setup Terra Quick Wavel because that's why you Terra your Quick Wavel. So that means it's not real hazard removal, and it's also like Noivern, but I was pretty positive Noivern wasn't coming because that's the other Terra Captain, and Terra Quick Wavel was way better into me, so I kind of just made that that guess. Terra Normal Heatran. So this was mainly for Spectre, but in a lot of mocks what I found was this set also beats Ting Lu. If you normal out of the Earthquake weakness, you can taunt Ting Lu, you can trap it with Magma Storm, you can Will-O-Wisp it, and eventually you kill it. That's what the defense is for. That's why I have it. Because if you normal, you don't really need too much Spit F because Spectre can't hit you with its Shadow Ball, so it kind of becomes useless. So all this defense does is help me deal with Ting Lu easier. I believe I can also live 1 CC from Quick Wavel, maybe that's what this is for. Heatran is really fat, and I have Flame Body to proc burns as well, whether that's on low kicks or Quavo, you know, Metagross. I really want to proc those burns. I probably should have been so this Zapdos wasn't meant to come in and static things. I'm sure I should have been static, but I really this was, so what this was for was insurance against Quick Wavel. If Quick Wavel gets the +1 speed, I want to be able to outspeed it and kill it. And that's what this does. That's what this is for. It works 100%. And then obviously, you know, max defense to deal with, again, Terra, Quick Wavel. I was really scared of it. Max Spadef Hippowdon. This is to deal with the likes of... I can take some Spectre hits with this. I could take some special Fez hits with this. I could take like a Thunderous Grass Knot, especially with my Rindo Berry, and I can Rock Slide it. But this also swept in some of the mocks that I did, I found. Like if I could find a mock against Tito again. I don't know if this is the one. No. Is it this one? It is this one. So I don't sweep fully with it, but like you saw how Curse Hippo like really cut like one curse, and I really start like he has a really bad time dealing with it. He starts losing Pokemon left and right. Especially like you saw I wasn't Rindo Berry there. Once I get the Rindo Berry and I can like live Grass Knot into Grass Knot more comfortably, and he loses his Thunderous, it becomes really like difficult. He has to like drop 1 or 2 Pokemon for it. So that's kind of what the idea was there with that in mind. Back to Expert Belt, you know, just 4 attacks, just as much coverage as possible. I need the Psychic Fangs, you know, for Non-Terra Quavo and for Pheasantipity. I need Crunch for Spectre, obviously. I need Crash. I need Sacred Sword for low kicks and Dugong. Dugong actually walls if you don't have Sacred Sword pretty well. Crunch probably still has a boatload of damage, but I needed Sacred Sword for those guys. So yeah, that's why I needed those 4 moves. That's what this is for. I think I've explained all the sets pretty reasonably. So let's get into the match. Let's exit out of these two. This is versus Josh, by the way. That's my opponent this week. So, like, he leads Metagross this time. That's, like, the worst lead for me because I'm Power Gem now instead of Earth Power, so that's unfortunate. But it doesn't really stop the plan. So I get my Toxic Debris off. It's pretty obvious he has Bullet Punch, so there's really no point in staying in. You know, I'll rather keep the sack. I can't get my Spike up anyways. So he does Bullet Punch. Then he knocks, but I do have the Cobra. Unfortunate that I couldn't Cobra with Quaquaval, but I just do that. And then this is interesting. So I go for Curse here, thinking I'm about to get like 1 or 2 kills at least, based on the Pokemon that he's brought. But he has this Toxic Orb trick shenanigans to get my Hippo Toxic. That's a really cool bring on his part. I like that a lot. So Metagross ends up getting pretty low. I Rock Slide predicting Thunderous here. A bit of an overplay on my part for sure. Now I'm very low and I have to click Slack Off if I don't want to die. And then I have to switch after because the poison's starting to rack up too much chip. So I go back to Slowking. Just a Chili again, I believe. He uses this opportunity to get rid of the Toxic Spike, so all I really have is Stealth Rock. So a pretty poor start for me, but I use this opportunity to get another Slack Up off so my Hippo can get back to being healthy. He U-turns. So thanks to Sand and Rocks, you actually see this Fez ends up at 82. You know, this is like real chip that I'm getting. He Nasty Plots. I Rock Slide. He's going to Grass Snot, but I don't live it now because he's +2 even through my Rindo Berries, so I just sack my Glamora. And I finally get my Chimpao out for the first time in the actual regular season. He just sacks Metagross, which is a good play by him. So now I'm kind of navigating for a, his Fez is at 80, his Thunderous is at 30. I'm kind of navigating for Chimpao or maybe the Scarf Zapdos to do something, but obviously Ting Lu is here and that's a bit problematic. I go Slowking as always on this Quaquaval. He has Flip Turn. So I'm thinking this is like more of a defensive Quaquaval then, or like some... That doesn't have to be defensive, but maybe 4 attack non-setup, because he has Flip Turn, obviously. Here I just stay in, because I didn't really have anything I loved to switch in on it, and I knew I lived Volt Switch, and I really doubted he went for Thunderbolt. So it's kind of a ballsy call here, but I do stay in, predicting not necessarily a move that's going to, like, OHKO me. So I can get the momentum back with Chili. And it ends up working out, because now I can get my Heatran in, and I can do what I did in a few mocks before, and that's deal with Ting Lu with Heatran. He gets up Stealth Rocks, but I don't necessarily care about that, because I'm kind of starting to see the vision now of what it is I want to do. I taunt him so he can't get up all his hazards. And then I Magma Storm, and now he's locked in. So now I know I have this Ting Lu 100%. It's gone. I Protect here to get some leftovers back. He's going to take Burn and Magma Storm chip, which is going to put him in range of my next Magma Storm. As long as I hit it, and I do. So now Ting Lu is dead, and my Heatran's back to a respectable amount of health. I just go Slowking. He knocks off predicting that, so that's a good play by him because I have to lose my Slowking. But this does, I do know he's not Scarf likely with that Flip Turn, and if he is Scarf, like if he is Scarf, fine. I just lose my Scarf for my Zapdos in exchange for his Quaquaval, but my Heatran is still alive. His Thunderous is at 31, and my Chimpao can like shard it if it needs to, or Icicle Crash it. And my Heatran is still alive for Spectrier, and it can probably deal with Pheasantipity too, or my Psychic Fangs can deal with Pheasantipity. So I'm fine with that. He ends up going Fez, but he takes Rocks, and the Thunderbolt does too much. So now Thunderbolt is going to... he brings out Thunderous, not knowing I'm Scarf. but I am, and I scarfed kill him, so now he's like, okay, what do I actually do here? The only way he can win at this point is a choke, me switching, because Shadow Ball doesn't kill me. So he nasty plots here. I 100% get why he nasty plots, because if I switch, he has a chance to win. But I have no reason to. Out comes the duck. And it's a Zapdos sweep. So, like I said, I see the opening with Zapdos thanks to the rocks from Glamora. I've chipped down Pheasantipity enough and Thundurus enough that I can effectively get the sweep once Tinglu's out of the way. And I use Heatran to kind of trap it and get that sweep that I wanted. So it works out as designed pretty much. Chiapao again doesn't get to do much, but it does get a kill this match with a crunch. It finally hits the field. So that's nice at least. It picks up a kill on Metagross. And with that, I believe it's time to move on to week 4, who is... I believe this is Asura. Yep. So Asura had a very odd team. A team that I thought I had a pretty good matchup against. I thought this was probably my second best matchup so far, just behind Gwen. Because it had Terapagos, but I had Annihilate. I think Annihilate's one of the stronger Terapagos answers. It can't run its usual shenanigans. It probably has to run like Dazzling Gleam. I saw like in mocks, let me see if I can find it. This is probably it. I was bringing Tatsugiri in these mocks because Tatsugiri looked really strong. His fairy was a Clef Key. So, like, I kind of, if I get the nasty plot off, I kind of exchange with Clef Key, which is nice. He Thunder Waves me in this mock. I got really greedy. Yeah, I got greedy there. I'm just looking for... Yeah, okay. Is it gonna... Alright. Yeah, it didn't really show it in that mock. But, in he had like a crazy stored power weakness policy set, and that worked, but I thought the more likely outcome was just Dazzling Gleam, Calm Mind, Terrace, because it didn't have Terra Starstorm, and it was like a set that was walled by, or no, it did have Terra Starstorm, but it was a set that was walled by Heatran. I thought like Dazzling Gleam, Terra Starstorm, Rapid Spin, Earth Power was kind of like something that could come. But like a third week in a row, we're running into a physical fire type, so Hippo again, or not in a row because I don't think Josh had one, but Hippo looked good here again, just as a physical wall. Running these physical fire types, it just really helps. It also deals with Roaring Moon and Gyarados pretty well. You know, any of these physical attackers that don't necessarily have super effective moves against Hippo can deal with. Terapagos, like I said before, the answer to that was Annihilate. And then Whimsicott also is coming this week. To deal with like potentially setup, whether that's Roaring Moon, whether that's Terapagos, whether that's Mew. You know, it's a Terra Mew, so that Mew's obviously probably gonna be set up. That's what it does in Gen 9 with Terra. So like if we look at the team, the 6 that I chose to bring, Annihilate, you know, it has Taunt for setup on that Terapagos. I believe I'm trying to outspeed Terapagos, potentially outspeeding me. I've got Spadeft for Terapagos. I've got some defense. I think that's to take a hit from Moon if I have to. Bulk Up, Rage Fist, Drain Punch, Taunt. In the first instance, I bring Band Pow, Ice Shard, Chip, just really nice to deal with, potentially set up Roaring Moon. Also deals with, you know, Mew if Mew tears and tries to get out of hand, or a rapid spinning Terapagos. I also have all these other moves. Psychic Fangs to hit Mach, break screens, because Klefki likes to bring screens. Icicle Crash to hit Meganium, to hit Gyapdos. Crunch to hit Mew before Terra, and also just to be like neutral on like Cinderace. Just trying to hit as hard as possible. I've got Fairy Heatran here. He really struggles with Fairy Heatran. You know, Roaring Moon can't really take it. Cinderace can't really hit it because I got that Flash Fire, and I'm going to resist fighting now. Mew, I can kind of deal with because I got Will-O-Wisp if in case it tries to be a physical attacker. This was really like mainly for Roaring Moon, I believe. But also I can take like fighting moves from Gyapdos now that I'm Fairy. Tatsugiri, like I said, his dragon switch-ins weren't really the strongest. It's Klefki, and then everything else is neutral dragon. So the idea is like I get a nasty plot off, and I either exchange with Klefki or there's no switch-in at all, and Draco Meteor starts going crazy. I thought this was a really good Tatsugiri matchup. Hippo, like I said, deal with all those physical attackers, and then Sub-Seed, Encore, Whimsicott, here to deal with setup, because I thought this team was really setup heavy going into me. Now let's look at the replay. So he leads Terapagos immediately, and I'm not messing around with this at all. I immediately go Whimsicott if he wants to set up. He opts to go Electros, and I'm like, okay, let's see just what it wants to do. I substitute just scouting exactly what it has, because Electros can do pretty much anything. He ends up going Terap. Here I'm like subbing again, trying to see what it wants to do. I see Terra Starstorm, and I'm like, alright, so this is... I waste pretty much half of Whims's health just scouting what it is he wants to do. You can debate whether that's the right play or not, but I was just super unsure of what exactly was going on in terms of his game plan. So here I go Annihilate. He goes Meganium. I taunt him. So I'm like, alright, Meganium with taunted. It probably can't do much to me, and I decide to just bulk up. But he has the Dragon Tail. That's a good ring by him. And I get Hippo out, so I'm like, alright, don't love this. I saw U-turn earlier, so I figure this is physical. I use this opportunity to get my Fairy off, because that helps with Roaring Moon, and it helps with Gyapdos. And I burn Electros. So the Electros, you know, damage-wise is very neutered now, because it is physical, it looks like. I Magma Storm for some chip. He U-turns out. So I get like half chip on Electros now. He goes Meganium, which I don't fully understand, because this Magma Storm's about to do a boatload of damage. But I do end up missing the Magma Storm, and he's Sub-Seed, as my Whimsicott is. So we both have a Sub-Seeder, actually. Here, I spend a little too long trying to just... I spent a little too long trying to hit a Magma Storm on this thing, wasting some HP on my Heatran when Whimsicott walls it pretty well, considering he doesn't have any move to hit it other than like Energy Ball, I think. I get a Rage Fist boost on Annihilate here. He Dragon Tails me out, so I'm like +4 with Annihilate now. I'm like 200 base power. I sub up. He's burned now, so his U-turn isn't going to break my sub anymore. I have my sub up still on this Whimsicott, so I go for Leech Seed. But he spins it away, so I end up really getting nothing. Luckily my Leech Seed is... I decided to Encore him into Rapid Spin here, so that way I can get a free switch to Annihilate. Or I Moonblast first to break the shell, but sadly he's leftovers, so it doesn't really matter in the end. Probably should have just gone Annihilate immediately. But he switches. Drain Punch comes out. And now I can Rage Fist because I'm boosted so high. He barely lives it, but the Meganium is pretty neutered now. I go Heatran instead of finishing it off because I don't want to have that Leech Seed on me for whatever comes in next. And I finally managed to pick off the Meganium. So things are going, okay so far. I don't think I'm playing the greatest. This is probably my most poorly played game so far. I'm not playing the Whimsicott very well. If I remember correctly, he was taking a long time every turn. And here I start playing pretty poorly overall, if I have to be honest. I stay in when I really shouldn't with Heatran. And I click Protect on a Pokemon I know is going to have like Calm Mind set up. I start trying to 1v1 this Terapagos with Heatran. I'm very impatient here, in my opinion. All of this is pretty poor on my part when my Annihilate is still relatively healthy. And I miss a Magma Storm, and now I'm kind of in a world of hurt, and I'm like, okay, this situation's really dangerous. I have to go Whimsicott so he stops setting up. And I get it right, so then now it doesn't matter because I can just Encore, and then, he's stuck. And that's exactly what I do. So now, I have my confidence back. He U-turns. Terapagos comes right back out. I don't make the same mistake again. I think I just start Moonblasting, yeah, to get some chip. I sub again because I didn't really have a great switch in if he's going to Dazzling Gleam. I didn't want to go Annihilate. And I catch the Electros, which allows me to Moonblast it and kill it. So now I'm up 6-4. I'm feeling pretty confident I have this game, as long as I don't let him set up too badly. I Leech Seed, again, making the same mistake I did before. I believe I Encore now. And then I go Annihilate after. These leftovers are helping him out a lot here. He predicts me and goes as Gyapdos, which is really good on his part. But unfortunately, I just have Hippo, and it's really, he has to take the Recoil and the Rocky Helmet, and things just aren't looking too good for him. I get my Rocks up now. And then I'm pretty sure I go Hard Ape. Yeah, because I don't want him to spin him away. And he calls that and does go for Dazzling, but I have my Citrus, so it's not a 2 KO for him, unfortunately, which forces him to switch. So now he has to go Gyapdos. I again, like here, now I feel pretty comfortably that I have this game, so I stopped making like super aggressive. Like I could have theoretically Rage Fist there, but if he stays in, it's really unfortunate. And Drain Punch is still 70% chip on this Gyapdos plus the rocks. It's like, let the game play for you. You know what I mean? That's kind of my philosophy of it. Because now I can just go to Mudang, and he has to take the Rocky Helmet, and all this chip is just really bad for him. And here I'm like, there are multiple times this season where I'm letting Hippo die, and it just doesn't die. Like, I let Hippo die here, I'm pretty sure, but he predicts, and I get the Slack off. And now I predict him to go for Terapagos, to go for something else here. So now I don't even have to, I can Drain Punch pretty freely. And now I'm up, pretty high. I go Hippo. He Iron Heads, predicting my Fairy Heatran. Unfortunately, I don't go it this time. I go Hippo. So now I live the next attack, I'm pretty sure. And he decides to switch, but I get the Slack off. So now my Hippo, Hippo is just putting in overtime these first 4 weeks. It's going crazy, man. I love Hippowdon. I Earthquake for the chip. And then I'm pretty sure I go Annihilate here, predicting him to go for something else. And I get it right that time. So now, I Drain Punch. Again, I could go for, Rage Fist if I want to be super aggressive, but there's just no reason to. In fact, I think I start sacking Mons here just out of fear of, yeah, I go Whimsicott on Psychic Fangs, just in case he went for, some sort of setup move. There's no reason to risk it, you know what I mean? And then I go Hippo. The Sand Chip is, in full effect. Seed Bomb does a decent amount, but I Whirlwind him out. I go back to Annihilate. I live. Sand doesn't kill me quite yet. And I get another Drain Punch off. Finally take down this annoying Terapagos that was causing me all sorts of headaches. And again, I believe I just sack. Yeah, I just let some Pokemon go down just out of fear of setup Mew or Terapagos, because I really don't want to get swept by those guys. And then because I'm banded, I can't go for the ice move here, so I go to Heatran, but I get it wrong. He goes for Iron Head again. So, you know, good play on his part to go for the same, to go for that again, predicting me. I go Hippo. I think this might be a sec, but I do just end up living just because Hippo's that guy. And he no longer has his attack boost. I Earthquake and I kill him, and Hippo gets one kill this match, but Hippo's still, you know, clutching up, doing what it's supposed to do, beating Gyapdos, beating Roaring Moon. Honestly, clutching up in the face of Terapagos too. So Terapagos was really annoying this match. It could have gotten out of hand if I didn't get that Whimsicott turn right. That was really the turn that made this this game really key. But, you know, through these first 4 games, what I was learning was I really love Heatran for late game, you know, picking off some kills after everything's whittled. Hippo against like physical threats that don't have attacks that can super effectively hit him. Just a monster, man. It's really difficult to kill. It's a giant wall that the opponent, like, this is another week where Hippo's just sitting at the end at low HP. All his guys are dead. Rocky Helmet thoroughly chipping him down. Stealth Rocks doing their job. Whimsicott, I'm really loving both as a offensive pressure mon with specs because it's a Terra Captain, and also as a, you know, utility mon to stop setup. I think the unique stars of this team are Heatran and Hippo and Whimsicott, and I think through 4 weeks I really started to show that those 3 are the stars of this team. They're the if I had to, you know, gold star 3 Pokemon on the team as like the story of the season, it would be those 3. I really, really love those Pokemon off of this season. Moving on to week 5, a big one. It's Cobra Chaos. This was a huge matchup because word on the grapevine was, at least from what I was hearing, Cobra Chaos is really good. Definitely one of the better players in Pseudo this last season in FBL. That's what I heard from a whole bunch of different people. Cobra Chaos is a strong player. Kind of got your word cut out for you when you play Cobra Chaos. So I was really looking forward to this one, and I really wanted to win. So, looking at the matchup immediately, I immediately noticed Hippowdon, pretty atrocious matchup. Kirub is here. Ogerpon Wellspring is here. Both Pokemon that Hippowdon can't deal with, and that letting them in is disastrous for me. In general, Kyurem, I have no good switch-in for. Slowking doesn't want to take it. Heatran doesn't want to take it. Annihilate, like Assault Vest, maybe is a temporary check, but it's just so strong. I don't have the defensive pieces to deal with the freeze dries, sadly. Deoxys Speed with Nasty Plot also really messed me up in mocks. Really dangerous set, in my opinion. Really, really difficult to deal with. I didn't see Raikou in any mocks, but I believe it ended up coming to the game, so that was a pretty threatening Pokemon. But really, it was Deoxys Speed, Kyurem. And then Whimsicott was my check to Ogerpon Wellspring with Encore, and also stopping it from going for Swords Dance. But I also had like Gyapdos, obviously, to take some grass moves. But if I needed something to take Ivy Cudgel, it was Whimsicott, because I believe my Heatran was not grass this match. If I go to the Chaos team... Oh, I was grass. I ended up needing to be grass just to be a temporary Wellspring check, just because Wellspring's such an oppressive Pokemon. I think that thing with Terra is like one of the best Terra captains that we allow in FBL, literally. Like one of the best we allow by far. So I was Specs Heatran to really chip things down, to do some massive damage. This allows me to 2-hit KO Florges. It allows me to kill Kyurem. It allows me to kill Corviknight. There's really no good fire switch-ins on this team. This team has no, like, the fire resist is what? Wellspring after Terra, but it has to actually, like, Terra but to be able to be a switch-in. And if I'm grass, he doesn't want to take the Terra Blast. So it's a really tough situation. And then Typhlosion is Sui, who's, like, not really a fire switch-in. You know what I mean? It's, like, not real. It doesn't have Flash Fire. It has Frisk. It's the ghost one. So, I also have Scarf Annihilate. This thing, it outspeeds, you know, everything except Dio Speed. Unfortunately, there's no way to get it to outspeed Dio Speed. But it can kill Kyurem. It can kill, like, Scarf Crocodile. If the Crocodile's also adamant, because I was adamant. It can kill Raikou if it needs to. It's just a really nice thing to have. It has Gunk Shot for Florges. It's really nice to have that speed control against Cobra Chaos's team. That was the main reason to bring it. Speaking of Scarf, Double Scarf, Chiempao. I was really struggling with what to do with Chiempao in this match in the replays, if I remember correctly. Like, if I go up and look at some of these replays. No, not those. Yeah, here's some versus Tito. I was really struggling with Gio's speed. And I was really struggling with what to do with Chiempao, because I didn't think Chiempao had, like, its best matchup ever, because Gio's speed was outspeeding it. I was used to Chiempao being the main, like, fastest thing in the game in these matches. So what I did was I scarfed it, because I was really trading Chiempao in most of these mocks for Dio speed anyways. So I scarfed it to outspeed it, and that was kind of the plan. And then I've got this defensive Glamora. This Glamora deals with Okidogi, I believe. If Okidogi's like adamant, I do live 2 close combats, I think is the plan, and I have Earth Power for it. And it 2 KOs with my special attack, and that's kind of the idea. And I've got a Citrus Berry in case he, because I think it was like 48 to 55 or something. So like I heal up to get off of that, obviously. Zapdos, defensive Zapdos, just to kind of take an Ogerpon Wellspring hit is the plan. Take Crocodile hits. This is like the Crook answer as well. Whimsicott, again, it's the set that's for Wellspring. It's also here to hit Okidogi potentially if it needs to. And you might be asking, what's the Kyurem answer? There isn't one. The plan on Kyurem is to sack Mons and go Annihilate. And hopefully have Stealth Rocks and Spikes up with Glamora. That was the plan. I didn't have a good way of dealing with Kyurem. I couldn't find one in all the mocks I did. I mean, we can look at the replays. I go hard Chiempao on rocks. He misses Focus Blast, so that's unlucky. Like physical Kyurem was also like messing me up bad in these mocks. I won that one. Yeah, so like I had to go like like look at this. I have to go Whimsicott. So I U-turn on the D-Dance from Kyurem because I have no switch-in, so I'm basically sacking Zapdos. And I have to go Whimsicott after because I see that, and I click Encore to force him to switch. Because the situation with Kyurem is so bleak. Like, I have to make some plays to deal with Kyurem. Because Kyurem is such a devastating Pokemon for me to deal with. That being said, let's look at the match. So I lead off with Zapdos just because I didn't really know what to lead. I knew Glamora wasn't the lead because Glamora was like, if Glamora's getting those hazards up, it's on Okidogi, right? So like, I'm pretty sure Okidogi isn't going to be the lead. Looking at this, I thought it was going to be Deoxys Speed or Raikou, if I'm being honest. It ends up being Raikou. Raikou auto goes for Calm Mind. I just U-turn. I didn't really care what Raikou did. I thought it was going to be good to U-turn. And I go Whimsicott because I know he's set up. This is what I'm talking about with, like, Gen 9. In my opinion, people are, like, so in love with setup in Gen 9 that, like, having Encore is just always so valid and valuable. He goes Raikou here. He Calm Minds. And I just Flamethrower, and I do a Bolo because I'm Specs, so he sees that damage, and it's probably pretty uncomfortable for him. I probably could have just Grassed there, to be honest, but I wanted to keep my natural typing for Deoxys Speed, I believe, because the Psycho Boosts are pretty problematic into me. Oh, and also Kyurem was the main one, so Kyurem can't just click Ice Move. Yeah, definitely Kyurem I wanted to keep my natural typing for in case it was like Specs or Scarf. So as we saw that previous turn, I close combat. I don't actually kill, so probably Thunderbolt would have killed me, but he goes for Calm Mind again. I don't know what he was expecting me to do here. This is one of those turns I don't get at all. I've thought about that, but I don't actually know what the plan was. I just close combat again, and I feel pretty comfortable going Heatran here. There's really nothing he can do to me, and I doubt he body presses on Annihilate. And then he does not expect this to kill, but based on the flamethrower damage on Raikou, he probably should have thought that I was Specs. But yeah, I mean, that kills for sure. And then here, I believe I just tank the damage to kill this Raikou. So now I'm already up 6-4. So I'm already feeling pretty in control. And again, I kind of do that thing where I feel like I can win, so I don't want to mess it up. So I start like losing Pokemon. So like I go Whimsicott here. He SDs, so I'm like, alright, pretty free Encore. I have no reason to like predict, you know what I mean? And then here, I can go Zapdos. I get the static, which is nice. I U-turn. This is an opportunity to get my Glamora in. This is what Glamora is for, right? So I get the toxic debris off, and now something is getting poisoned 1000%. Because, and he goes Kyurem here. I believe I Earth Power this time. So Kyurem has to take... It's not Boot, so it has to take the rocks and the toxic, and it gets Earth Powered. So I'm like, alright, Kyurem's a huge threat, but it's on a timer. It's at 50%. I feel good now. I feel like the game is kind of won, more or less. I just have to, you know, like, Glamora, you don't matter anymore. This is a paralyzed Okidogi. Zapdos can deal with that somewhat effectively, so I just let it go down. If, like, I could have theoretically gone to Zapdos or Whimsicott if I predicted the Earth Power, but I didn't feel the need to at this point, so I just let Glamora go down. And he could be Scarf. So I go Annihilate because he's my Scarfer. I Rage Fist for a decent chip. I get Zapdos in. He auto gets the poison through Para, which is unfortunate, and hits the Gunk. But I just have to kind of like wait for him to miss or get Para'd for me to kill the Okidogi with Zapdos, because it has to happen eventually. And then he's at like 7%, so I'm like, alright, Annihilate, you held no use anymore, pretty much. I get rid of him. Whimsicott, I figure he's stuck in. Because if he switches, he just takes chip anyways. He goes Water Pond, and I'm like, alright, this is what Whimsicott's for anyways, right? So I'm like, I just need the chip. So like, why do I do this? I need this chip for Crunch to kill with Chien-Pao. That's literally the only point, right? There's really no reason to do anything else. I Encore here to make sure he can't like lock himself into Trailblaze to get higher. Or I Encore the next turn. Just to make sure that he can't like Trailblaze here to try and get +1 speed or something. Because, like, I see the line now, so, like, I'm losing Pokemon, but it's all Pokemon I'm willing to lose. Like, it's not uncomfortable for me at all. So then I go Chien-Pao with Crunch. I'm like, alright, this is going to be a 3-0. And then he does have a really cool Deoxys, it turns out. He has the Cobra Berries, so even though I have the Crunch, it doesn't matter. And Superpower does kill me, so it goes down to a 2-0. But he's minus attack. I doubt he's Focus Blast and Superpower, so I just go Heatran. I don't even Terra it. There's no point, and I'm just going to click Flamethrower to clean up this game. A really, really strong game, I think. Even though I lost like 4 Pokemon at the end, I did feel in control the whole time this game. Especially because I went up 6-4 so early. When you go up well so early, it's like the resource management, your resources are so much better that you have to mess up significantly, or like in the builder you don't have anything to do with like a sweep in order to like really lose the game, in my opinion. So I felt pretty confident that, especially once Kira, because Kyurem was such a problem, I was so scared of like setup Kyurem. Once Kyurem went down, I was pretty confident that I would find a way to win the game. And I ended up losing a bunch of Pokemon just to Kyurem, to Ogerpon, to make sure that like I was setting it up right for Chien-Pao. And then obviously the berry was good for making me lose Chien-Pao, otherwise it would have been a 3-0. So that was good on Cobra Chaos's part. But I really wanted to win this Cobra Chaos game. I really wanted to... It got me to 5 wins on the season. I really wanted to prove that, you know, I could win against some high-quality opponents. and I think at this point in the season I was starting to prove that I was kind of a top contender in the Pseudo division. I was really starting to jive with my team. You know, I didn't even bring Hippo this week, and Hippo was kind of my mascot up to this point, so I was showing I could win without it. Uh, Chiampao started slowly doing more and more as the season started going on, and things were starting to look good. All right, next up is Sadie. So Sadie, I think at this point was like 0-5, but in my opinion, her team was really, really scary. She had a really incredibly scary team, so I was actually very nervous for this match. Terratorn T, really threatening. Palafin, really threatening. Blood Moon, really threatening. Archaludon, a really interesting Pokemon that is pretty difficult to deal with, honestly, like without losing a Pokemon in return. You know, it's a pretty good trader, in my opinion. So I was like in a predicament, so to speak, in terms of like what to do exactly. I thought the damage output the opponent was putting out was just really, really high in the mocks that I was doing. Like if we go back to the replay center here, like I had some mocks versus this guy named Shadow. Shout out Shadow, coach of the Lion City Leech Life in the PBO. And like I was just uncomfortable a little bit with how much damage the opponent was doing. Like look at how I'm losing my Pokemon. This is another game where I thought Tatsugiri... Oh yeah, I think I sweep with Tatsugiri in this mock, which is funny. Tatsugiri was uniquely good in this match. There's no fairy type... Or the fairy type's Diancie, who's weak to Surf, right? So like Surf Draco cooks. And Palafin Hero usually has like exclusive water moves. Not exclusive, like it can run close combat, but it's usually clicking Flip Turn or Jet Punch. And Tatsugiri is immune, so it can like get in for free theoretically on Palafin Hero. And if it's banded and it's locked into a water move, it gives Tatsugiri the opportunity to set up. So I like kind of saw the vision with Tatsugiri in this game. So like to deal with her overwhelming offense, this is the team I decided to bring. This is the 1 week I brought Bulk Up Annihilate. I thought it was pretty good into the team. I thought I could deal with like Archaludon and Blood Moon. I thought I could deal with Blood Moon specifically. Because I've done this before, this like Spadef Annihilate with Bulk Up, it deals with Blood Moon pretty well, and I've experienced in the past. But like Mesprit doesn't do enough, Electro Hisui doesn't do enough. I could take the flip turn from Palafin to get a Rage Fist boost theoretically. I was pretty sure I could like tank like a Hurricane even, and like Rage Fist back on Torn, and that would be a pretty good exchange. So I was pretty sure Annihilate could get a sweep. That was actually my main goal this match, was to get a sweep with Annihilate. Double screens like Slowking. This was a pretty cool Slowking. It was basically like the damage output's so insane. Please let me lessen it a little bit. That was kind of my my mindset doing that. I really wanted to make it so I could take hits a little bit better, just because in the mocks I was getting really uncomfortable with how much damage I was taking from her insanely powerful Pokemon. Zapdos, I have Grass Tran, but Tran was also for like Archaludon, and it was getting whittled a little bit in the games. It also like dealt with Blood Moon ever so slightly because of the Assault Vest and like Electrode Hisui. This could take like a banded Jet Punch, like 2 banded Jet Punches from it couldn't take Wave Crash, mind you, but if it locked into Wave Crash, I had Tatsugiri. This Tatsugiri, it's here to do sweep. That's what it's here for. It has Rapid Spin too, which is nice. I've got Chiampao, it's got Sucker, you know, priority, it's got the coverage moves it needs. I think I don't need to explain too much, like Psychic Fangs, hits Salazzle and all that, Crunch. Just does good neutral, so does Icicle Crash to like certain Pokemon compared to others. Chiampao, pretty self-explanatory. Speed to outspeed, the fastest thing they have. You know, kind of just doing what it's doing every week. And then Assault Vest Heatran. Deal with that non-Terra Diancie with Flash Cannon. I can Terra Grass to Terra Blast the Palafin. I deal with Torn okay, especially if I'm pre-Terra. I Terra Grass and I deal with Blood Moon, so that's good. I can Earth Power the Salazzle. You know, there's just a lot of special attackers here that I have this Assault Vest for. So that was kind of the idea. I really went into this game wanting something to go right with Tatsugiri. I was pretty sure this was the Tatsugiri game going into it. The Watering Dragon coverage really wasn't that great. So, starting off this match, I think this match is probably the poorest start of all the games I had. I get the flame body, which is, good, but like it's probably special attacking Torn, especially if it's Terra. It's probably nasty plot, although it is U-turn, so I doubt it's the nasty plot one, but it's probably special attacking. Getting the flame body means I don't get the what's it called later. So it's like whatever, you know what I mean? I don't get the static at all later. I missed Magma Storm initially, which is a shame because I would have been able to flash cannon and keep it in, and it would have been dead for sure. They focus blast here, but because I'm a Salt Vest, that doesn't do nearly enough. I missed Magma Storm again, so I'm not getting the chip on Torrent. So I'm getting a little unlucky this game, but hey, that's kind of how it works when you're running with Magma Storm. I go Zapdos here, knowing he's going to focus blast. And then I believe I U-turn, knowing he's probably going to switch out as well. Yep, I get the U-turn off. Use this as an opportunity to go Ape, because Ape is my answer to Annihilate. Like, on switch in, that's my initial answer always. But it does have Moonblast. In Mox, sometimes they ran Moonblast. I just wasn't I was counting on it not being there, kinda, because I wanted this Ape to work. But it ended up being there. to top it off, a head chop. I will say, Sadie played this game really well and closer than the end score ends up being, considering, I believe she said she brought the wrong team. So kudos to her for bringing the wrong team and still putting up, a really dangerous fight. I was pretty scared here. I was like, oh no, my Annihilate's not going to work. Like, I have to switch my Annihilate out here because it's taking so much and it's not healing enough. So I get my Slow King in on Torn, and I use this as an opportunity to get up my screen. I get flinched. I'm getting pretty unlucky at this beginning, to be honest. I use this as an opportunity to get up my light screen, though. I go Zapdos. He steals. So now my Heatran is pretty good against this thing, to be honest. So, like, all this is fine. I get my Heatran in. Salazzle comes in. It's Balloon, but the Flesh Cannon does too much. Salazzle's really frail, so, like, that's the issue with Salazzle, is switching it in on any damaging move is really... They miss Thunder Wave, so, like, a little comeback on the luck a little bit. I don't know if it ends up mattering too much. Maybe in terms of the final score, but I think I still would probably walk away with a win. Spoiler alert. So Palafin comes in. I go auto Tatsugiri. I'm like, alright, it's baby. Even if he CCs, I'm still living that. So I get the special attack boost. I nasty plot immediately. I probably should have rapid spun here, but I do nasty plot. I probably should have rapid spun here again, because if I rapid spin here, I think I don't take this next Hurricane, but I do Surf. I spin there to get the speed boost. So now I'm +3, +1. And then Sadie probably should have gone Fortress here because it has Sturdy, which forces me out, or like just to... What I probably would have done is done the 99% and then just die. But she probably just forgets it in the heat of the moment, which is, totally understandable. So, or she just didn't care. So she just goes to Palafin, I Draco, and Tatsugiri gets a little mini sweep, which makes me so happy that Tatsugiri gets to show off that it can do stuff. Because in a lot of mocks, it ends up doing stuff. At this point, I do keep the Tatsugiri because I'm pretty confident I can win. I go for Hurricane here. I don't have Heat Wave, and I'm like, I don't want to discharge because what if they go Luna? But it seems like she's pretty content with just staying in. I'm pretty sure she's conceded to a loss at this point, if I had to guess. I discharge. Blood Moon comes out. I Hurricane just to basically sack Zapdos, but she doesn't take it, so I take the opportunity to go Heatran on the Blood Moon. And then knowing she can't Blood Moon again, and she's probably going to Earth Power, I Grass. She Earth Powers, I live, and it's going to end up being another 6-0 victory. So this game really showed off the Tatsugiri. This was Tatsugiri's game for sure. I'm really happy Tatsugiri got one this season. Whenever your low tier ends up getting a game where it kind of shows up and shows out. It got 2 kills, but really 3. Like, the Torn technically ends up being a Heatran kill because it died to burn. But it was really 3 for Tatsugiri. I mean, come on, man. So I really do love that Tatsugiri ended up getting a game where, he gets 3 kills and it kind of shows out and does something. It really, makes the season all the more epic, all the more fun. Um, Champao doesn't hit the field, so I think that's 3 games now Champao didn't hit the field in, which is kind of nuts. Slowking did help a lot with its light screen, so that's nice. Uh, Game plan kind of worked out how it was intended to in the end, even though the beginning of the game was very, very rough. With that, we will move on to the Week 7 game, which was versus Theros. So this matchup, from what I remember, was really, really odd. I remember not liking it at all, pretty much, because I was really, really scared of Bundle. I didn't have like super great bundle answers. Slow King doesn't want to take the freeze dry. In general, it's like Kirim from before. I don't like the freeze dry answers. And on top of that, he has Enam T, and Enam T was really scary into me too. Sneasler I could deal with like Hippo. Like that was kind of like whatever. But I was just so worried about and like Crown had to be dealt with Slowking. Slowking had a lot riding on it. Slowking was dealing with ENMT. Slowking was dealing with Crown. Slowking was dealing with Bundle. Slowking had kind of the world on its back this game in terms of what it had to do. Like if we go to the team builder, Theros. I ended up bringing a really weird Heatran with Power Herb to try and like deal with Milotic and like maybe Mamoswine, because the Mamoswine's gonna be well, I could just Flash Cannon Mamoswine. But I ended up being Power Herb to deal with Milotic because I saw Magma Storm into Solar Beam could kill like a defensive Milotic. But the issue was I would have to have no Chili up because Chili would make Solar Beam do less damage, which would be really unfortunate. So like I had a really awkward Heatran that was just trying to break some stuff with a little bit of speed to outspeed something. If I look at it and I remember right, probably like max speed Enam or max speed Donphan, one of the two, if I had to guess. And then back to Choice Band. Banded like quickly became my favorite set on POW with just like priority and then just 3 attacks, 3 coverage moves. Psychic Fangs for Sneasler, Ice Crash for Therian. All that other shenanigans, pretty standard, the stuff that I'm always bringing. AV Ape. This was my way of dealing with Bundle. This was my way of dealing with like Galv and Hydreigon and all those guys. Terra Hydreigon is pretty scary. I was also really scared of Iron Crown Terra if Slowking couldn't do it. I was max Spidef Slowking. This was for like setup Crown. I really didn't want to deal with it, so I had Yawn to force it out. And then max defense Hippowdon. This is for Sneasler. Like if I basically I really needed this for Sneasler. And then okay, this was probably one of my more heat sets. This Whimsicott. It was these abilities are wrong. I'm assuming they didn't carry over quickly because I was Infiltrator 100%. I remember being Infiltrator in one of the mocks. So this was Scarf because it outsped Bundle and O-code it with Energy Ball, and it outsped Sneasler and O-code it with Psychic. And that was huge. That was really, really huge. That was like the main thing. Like I would lead it, and if they led Bundle, I would just click Terra Fairy so that if they were Scarfed, the ice move wouldn't kill me, and then I would Energy Ball and Oko them, and if they weren't Scarfed, they would just die. So yeah, that was this Whimsicott set. That's what it was for. 1000%. Was to kill one of those two. So you would imagine my surprise if you go to the game. No Bundle, no Sneasler. Instead, we've got this odd conglomeration of 6. And I was like kind of in shock and awe. There was no Crown, which I was expecting. There was no Bundle. There was no Sneasler. All the guys that I thought were going to... Like, let's look at these replays. Like, look at this. Bundle, Crown, Sneasler, they're all here. Well, this is where I've got the infiltrator at, right? Like that, I have infiltrator to kill this crown with my scarf thing. Dire Claw. I get parried, but that's fine. Icicle Crash doesn't even do close to enough, but it's Paraflinch. Like, the Whimsicott was going so crazy because the Sneasler and this guy were here. But because it's not... Oh yeah, I was for a long time this, like, weird flame charge. I was trying to sweep with Heatran, but it didn't really end up working out too well. So I got rid of it for the power herb thing. So if we look at this game, none of those three guys came, and my Whimsicott kind of fell flat because all these guys are so fat. Whimsicott, you know, it's not Specs Whimsicott, it's Scarf, and it doesn't really do the damage it needs to do to pull off what I wanted it to pull off, sadly. But I do end up just leading it because it is Scarf, so it is going to outspeed everything. I see it's Fire Hydreigon, which is interesting. So they go by Lodic, I just Chili. You know, Slowking's my answer to Indeedee Expanding Force, of course. I go Whimsy, and I just Moonblast. I honestly thought they'd switch. That's why I Fairied and Moonblast. I thought they'd switch to something and I'd get a big hit off. But I probably should have recognized they didn't really have a great switch. And they end up being Coils, so, like, it's just a really weird set, in my opinion, that ends up coming to this match. But my Slowking does have, like, Yawn. So I can, like, deter it to switch at least. And then I get the Chili off. And my AV, like, Ape is here. And Slowking is just coming in. This game ends up being really long, so I don't know if we want to... Mamoswine ends up coming in. I go Annihilate hard. Or I go Annihilate after I Chili. I get Mamoswine for Annihilate, and I have like a ton of boosts on Annihilate. So I'm like, alright, maybe Annihilate can clean up these really fat guys later on. Unfortunately, Annihilate is really low, and this Nasty Plot Hydreigon, I don't have, like, Heatran has nothing to hit it. And I'm put in a really scary position. Like, everything's getting chipped super low. So I'm forced to sack Annihilate in order to get in. After I chip it down to 83. 89, really. I'm forced to go POW. And luckily, POW is banded and just so strong. It just OHKOs with Crunch, which is really nice. So I go Slowking. So I'm up 5-4, but the game doesn't feel like super great. Because it's like these two setup guys, that's my Lodic and this Enam, that are really problematic. I go Chiempao, and then I double to Slowking to see if he's Yachi, and he switches, which tells me he isn't Yachi, right? I feel like that's the logical conclusion, is that if you're going to double your Enam out, you're not Yachi. So he goes back to Enam, and I Chili, and I'm like, alright, I can Icicle Crash, and he ends up being Yachi, so I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I got, like, master baited here, but it's kind of crazy to be Yachi and not just go for it that previous turn when I double to scout it. So I guess my scout fails. I Flash Cannon here. Back out to Slowking on this Coil shenanigans. Donphan comes out here. I'm just future sighting. I'm just going for some chip here. You know, Healing Wish. Enam comes out to take the Healing Wish, so he just kills his Indeedee for me, which is nice. Slowking kind of beats these three, to be honest. I just got to kind of play the long game around them. So, like, I'm just switching around a bunch, trying to find the angle to get this Milotic low enough so that I can pick it off with Whimsicott, maybe. Energy Ball. It's Triple Axle, Recover, Aqua Tail. So this thing legit can't hit Slowking. So he just sleeps. But then I get my solar power off, but unfortunately it's in snow, so it's halved in damage. So, like, and this is like max Spit F because it has Coil. It is like max Spit F to have both the defenses. So I'm like kind of in a position where I can't do anything. Eventually he gets so high in like his stats that I whirlwind him out so that he has no stats anymore. And then he gets Enam and I whirlwind again knowing he's going to CM. I get my rocks up because I figured if we're going to be this game's going to take a while. If we're going to switch so much, I might as well get some rocks chip going because I figured I'm probably going to have to stall out the recovers on this Milotic, if I'm being honest. Eventually, I get the turn where he's asleep and he takes a future sight. So then I get energy ball into an energy ball, and that lets me kill the Milotic. So we finally get some progress. He gets Donphan, and I'm like, all right, I've already done this before, if you remember, back in week 2. Donphan must have gotten dropped and then picked right back up. Hippo beats Donphan because it has slack off. But this is a rest Donphan, so it ends up becoming kind of a slugfest. Eventually, Enam gets put in, but I whirlwind again because I always know it's going to calm mind on my Hippo. You know, they always are going to go for it because that's really the only chance he has to win. So, you know, the game's taking a long time, but I'm still in control. I'm just kind of looking for the opportunity to get the chip I need on this Enam, or to get my Hippo, or to get my Slowking in to deal with this Donphan, because it does have Scald. I finally do get it in. Enam comes out, I get the Scald off. Looking for a burn, that would be nice. Draining Kiss, it heals, but it doesn't heal enough, and I go for another Scald. And I get the burn this time, so now Enam's taking chip, and it takes a future sight that I set up earlier on Donphan. So now all that's left is Donphan. I've seen its full set, and I know it can't hit me. It doesn't even have Earthquake. It's Rest, Sleep Talk, Rapid Spin, Body Press. So my Slowking, I mean, this was the game of Slowking. This was a really long, really slow game. But after Mamoswine and Hydreigon go down, Slowking walled these last 4, and I just kind of had to position it around, use Regenerator to my advantage. This is, you know, all of my favorite things in draft, and the reason I drafted these guys, are kind of getting shown in these games pretty perfectly. This is why I really love Regenerator, is like, even when things aren't necessarily like 100% in your favor, not going the way you expected to, like the sets you have, like the Scarf Whimsicott aren't working, the Heatran isn't working, Regenerator can like claw you out of any situation because you can just heal naturally. Like the act of switching heals you. So then Slowking can kind of, you know, weave his way through a 1v4 with Yawn and 2 setup guys and like a Donphan because it's just so fat and it heals so naturally with its pivot move and forcing the opponent to switch and getting rocks up and just making them uncomfortable. And slowly but surely, eventually you win. It's a you know, a really I was running out of yawns too. It's a, you know, kind of slow way to win, but it's a way that I like a lot. And with that, we move on to week 8 of the FBL. This was Folgado in the regular season. So this was a really interesting matchup that I had this week. I had what was, in my opinion, a pretty good matchup, other than Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant, so it gets Vacuum Wave for POW, so originally I had the Choppleberry, because I do live one, but the issue was he would get rocks up with Treads, and then I don't live one, although his only rocker is Treads. But I didn't want to bring Glamora with Mortal Spin or Tatsugiri to this match at all, so I was going to have no removal. So if I wasn't Boots POW, I would be taking 25% from rocks if the Treads ever got rocks up. So that would be really risky. And then Valiant would just kill me with Vacuum Wave through Chopple anyways. So I believe I ended up being Boots just to be less risky. And then I've got Whimsicott with Encore to stop like Calm Mind, Valiant to stop, set up Ceruledge. And also just defensively, the type of Grass Fairy is good against Zarude. Zarude doesn't get a poison move, and it's a non-terror Zarude on this team. In general, Hippo is really good here, really good for Boulder, non-terror Boulder, really good for Ceruledge, and really good for Zarude. Zapdos, I believe, ends up being my Valiant answer in this game. I give it enough Spadef to live 2 Life Orb Moonblasts, because I didn't want to bring Slowking in this match, mainly because of like Zarude and Ceruledge and the like. In terms of his answers, what's it called? Ceruledge, even though I have like Flash Fire Heatran, like I believe originally In this, yeah, Citrus Berry, Heatran with Flash Fire. So like Poltergeist and Bitterblade theoretically couldn't hit me if I lost my Citrus Berry, right? That was kind of the idea. I was originally no item, but it's just Heatran was dealing with other guys too. So like, why not just have something proc the Citrus and then do the same thing? The risk being that if he gets the Swords Dance off, um, you would have to have your Citrus gone, or else you couldn't deal with it because Poltergeist would do too much. But I also have Hippowdon, so I felt pretty comfortable. What's it called? Uh, Having the Citrus Berry because Hippowdon's still a really nice answer to Cerulege, anyways. What ended up coming problematic, if I can find some of these mocks. These are all still, here we go. This is the another PBO player, by the way. Shout out to the Vancouver Valiants. Yeah, let's look at this one. Yeah, specs. So it didn't end up working there, but like, let me find out where it works. In these mocks, I'm grass, but I ended up being fairy, and specs Rotom Wash ends up being really, really problematic in mocks. I remember going against Kuma, and he had specs Rotom Wash, and it really, really messed me up really bad, and I didn't know too much what to do. Like I had to bring Whimsicott in on it, but Whimsicott was also my Zarude answer, so Whimsicott ended up having to do a lot this match. But this ended up being my team. You know, this Heatran dealt with Cerulege, and it also would be able to deal with Valiant. It could kill Valiant. It could also deal with like Wash slightly. It could Terra in front of Boulder. It could also deal with Zarude. Thanks to the Terra Blast. Terra Fairy in general into this team was pretty strong, I thought. That was kind of my main reason for bringing it. Hippowdon, like I said before, deals with Cerulege, deals with Boulder, deals with Treads. All those guys get kind of goobed by Hippowdon. I thought Hippowdon was really strong into this team. That's why I decided to bring it. Scarf Annihilate. I was like a whole bunch of Annihilates. I was a Solvest for a while. I think I found throughout this season of FBL, Scarf Annihilate is personally my favorite Annihilate. I like the U-turn. I like being able to, you know, pick things off and like maybe take one hit or two to get my Rage Fist to 150 and then like sweep late game if I have to. I like getting a Defiant boost at being +2 with a Scarf. All of that is really, really nice in my opinion. This 6th slot on this team was a bunch of different things, and I ended up going Scarf Annihilate, and I think Scarf is just such a really nice item on it. Like I said, Boots, Chimpao, because I'm scared of the rocks from the treads because I have no removal. I do have SD here. You know, if the Valiant's dead, it does have a pretty good chance to sweep. And if I'm +2, I outspeed Valiant, so I do Ice Shard for a good chip if it's chipped, and then I can kill it. Like I said, this was for Spit F was for Valiant. And then leftovers, Giga Drain, Encore, Moonblast, Leech Seed, deals with Zarude, deals with Cresselia if it wants to set up with Encore, deals with Valiant, deals with Cerulege, probably deals with Appleton too if that wants to like Iron Defense. And it can come in on Wash, which is good. The reason I had Giga Drain is because I needed to have a move to hit Wash because Specs was so devastating into me. Alright, let's look at the match. So we got the Zapdos here lead. I found a lot of the time in games what I would do is if I didn't have any idea what I wanted to lead, like there was no consistent lead that really got me progress, what I would do is I would lead Zapdos because it is kind of a all-around catch-all. Like all these 6 of these Pokemon, Zapdos can theoretically do something too, right? Like Zarude and Appletun, it's obvious. I can Heat Wave Iron Treads. In fact, Zapdos is a really good Iron Treads answer typically, so that would be nice. I can Hurricane this as well. Which is probably like worst case scenario, and it's still not even bad because I'm like max Spin F. I deal with Rotom Wash pretty well. So yeah, he Volts. I have no speed, and so that shows me he must have speed. I Volt. I was Volt on this version of the team, that is true, because I figured if Treads comes into me, I'm still like fine because this is my answer to Treads, so I got kind of greedy and had Volt because I have no real electric move if I didn't have Volt and was U-turn instead, but I probably should end up being U-turn based on how this goes, because I Heat Wave, he Ice Spinners, which is perfectly fine, I get the static, I Heat Wave again, get him low, and then I probably Roost a little too obviously. And then he Earthquakes. But I do live this Earthquake if he doesn't crit. I did run the calc of max attack, not adamant. If it's adamant, I don't live. I do live this Earthquake if it's just max attack. But he does crit me, which is unfortunate. And I lose my Zapdos, and that was a pretty crucial Pokemon. And that was just bad playing by me, because I could have just gone Hippo pretty freely, if I'm being honest. I do end up getting my rocks up on this Rotom Wash. So things are looking pretty bad for me. I'm kind of on the back foot. Really for the first time this season. Grafaiai comes out. I believe I Giga Drain here. And now I have nothing that really wants to get poisoned. I'm predicting the Toxic pretty much, but there's not much I can do about it. I go Heatran to block it. He misses Super Fang though, so that's really unfortunate for him. That's some good luck on my side for sure, because I really need this thing healthy. He sacks his Treads. I miss Magma Storm, but I'm going to be able to pick it off with Earth Power anyways. Even through the Shukaberry. And I Fairy here, and I figure, you know, I kind of need my Whims for Zarude now, especially because Zapdos is dead. I probably just need to, I saw from the damage, this is not Specs Rotom at all. I probably just need to use this, because Ceruledge isn't here, so this doesn't even deal with Ceruledge. I probably just need to, what's it called, deal with, fuck. I probably just need to deal with this Rotom now to make it less of a nuisance because it was so problematic in Mox. Then I switch out here. I probably could have just killed this with Earth Power, to be honest. I go to Hippo. Hippo is like uniquely bad against these 6 in particular because he goes from beating like 4 different Pokemon to really only beating Treads, and Treads is already dead. So like Hippo's kind of become a little bit useless, but it still has like some value in its helmet against like Zarude and stuff. It is like Pain Split Rotom, so he gets some health back, which is really unfortunate for me. He's getting like max value out of this Grafaiai now, but I Leech Seed at least to get some health back. And now I go Hippo. Because I'm already Toxic, I'm using this Hippo as like a Toxic blocker now. This is like my answer to Grafaiai now because I'm already Toxic. But he just Super Fangs. I overpredict here, predicting Rotom for sure. I just finish off Grafaiai, but I take the Toxic. Pretty sloppy play so far from my part, for sure. Getting predicted on the Earthquake, this Grafaiai getting the turns it did. But I see an opening now, because if you remember my Annihilate is Scarf, the Treads is dead, the Grafaiai is dead, and the Rotom is, what's it called, low. This is a Fairy Appleton, so I see that Annihilate looks pretty strong here for Gunk Shot. So I gunk this Appleton. He goes Zarude. I recognize that I do not kill with Gunk Shot on Zarude. Not yet. Because it's not stab or anything. So I just go for that. I go Chiempao. Pretty positive he'll switch. So I go for Swords Dance. Or no, I Ice Shard initially and then I Swords Dance. Because I Ice Shard to get this chip on Zarude. Because if I get the chip on Zarude, I do just sweep with Annihilate. So I crunch here. I shard here. Get the chip on, and then I gotta go for the gunk, shenanigans here. So I gunk Valiant. He goes to Zarude. He lives, but I also live, which means I can effectively go Hippo. And because of the sand in my Rocky helmet, even if he doesn't actually kill Hippo, again, this is like the third time this season I've kind of given up my Hippo to win the game, and they just don't take it. So that's kind of funny. He takes the, what's it called? The sand chip, and he dies from that. And that's GG. So a really good, really close game. I learned a lot from this game. I think my prep wasn't the greatest, and I think my play was pretty poor at the beginning too. But definitely a lot to learn from this game. And with that, we move on to week 9. All right, so week 9 of the FBL, I had a matchup against Cardinals. And at this point, I was 8-0, plus 33, I believe. And I had locked up the first seed for sure. I could lose 6-0, and there was no way I was going to lose it. And also, the way double promotion works in FBL is you can double promote if you are 9-0 or 8-1. So this game didn't even matter for that at all either. That being said, obviously, I'd rather be 9-0 than 8-1, right? But I did kind of have my word cut out for me this game. I thought this matchup was quite poor for me. I don't think I thought it through quite clearly, if I'm being honest, in terms of what I should bring, what the best Pokemon were. Like, I can look for some mocks. I also didn't mock for this game nearly as much as some others. In fact, I have no saved mocks for this game. Yeah, I have no mocks for this game. I didn't mock for this one really that much at all. What I did know was Hippo was pretty bad. It didn't really do anything. There was no Pokemon it necessarily beat. And I thought Annihilate was really good. I thought Annihilate could get the bulk up sweep here because I could taunt the Toxicers. This guy has a lot of Pokemon with Toxic. Tentacruel, Mandibuzz, because I did do mocks, and what I remember I was getting Toxic spammed by Tentacruel, Mandibuzz, and Quagsire, and it was really annoying. I really did not like taking Toxic that much. So I had this. So this is my team. Ability Shield, Heatran, Terra Grass. This deals with Heart Flame, if I remember correctly. Heart Flame gets completely walled by this pretty much. It's got Heavy Slam for Sylveon, Magma Storm to hit everything else, Will-O-Wisp for Rhyperior and Salamence. This was a pretty good set in my opinion. I really liked this one. It's got a lot of random stats everywhere. To take some hits from pretty much everything. Take some hits from Heart Flame. Take some hits from Darkrai probably. I think I don't get 2 KO by Shadow Ball, Max Special Attack, Golden Go with this. I have the speed to outspeed 0 speed Mandibuzz. I'm almost positive that's what that's for. This 36 speed. Powington, another banded Pow. Just 4 moves. It's got the coverage to hit Mandibuzz, hit Tentacruel, hit Golden Go, hit everything super strong, super hard with the Priority Ice Shard, of course. Kind of a standard set now for what I run. Just really powerful, really good at getting picks. Choice Scarf Glamora. This was my first crack at Choice Scarf Glamora. I thought it looked pretty good. It 2 KOs Darkrai. The Power Gem hits Heart Flame and Mandibuzz. I Energy Ball Quagsire, and Sludge Wave hits like Sylveon. I can Earth Power Gold and Tentacruel. The only issue is I have to get the turn right. That's in Golden Go. I thought was always going to be the first switch in, so I thought like always click. Basically, my mindset going in, always click Earth Power first, and if Earth Power doesn't, always click Earth Power first as long as Golden Go is alive. And then Ape, like I said, pretty much. I'm the Spadef. I've got Spadef. I've got some attacks. So like at +1, I can kill Darkrai, I think, with Drain Punch. That's what that's for. I've got the Spadef to live like 2 Darkrai Dark Pulses, I'm pretty sure, or like a Golden Go Shadow Ball. And I've got the speed to outspeed Tentacruel, 0 speed Tentacruel. I'm almost positive that's what that's for. Whimsicott, Light Screen. I want to get this up for Annihilate That's really the goal, so I can get like 2 bulk ups while I'm under that, and then it's really hard to kill me. I've got Encore for Rhyperior and Salamence, you know, those setup guys. Like I said, I don't like those guys. I don't like setup. And then pretty standard like defensive Zapdos deals with can take one Shadow Ball from Gold. I think that's what my Spadef is for. But can also deal with like the likes of Girder, can deal with Mandibuzz pretty well, can deal with Quagsire. It actually kind of just like Stonewall. Like, you can deal with Heart Flame. There's nothing that can like really fully deal with it 1v1. It would be a team effort to take it down. But here's the replay. So I lead Annihilate, pretty much ready to try and go for the sweep right off the bat. I taunt the Quagsire. As predicted, he's toxic. I bulk up. I probably should have recognized if he's going Mandibuzz, he probably thinks he's going to outspeed me. And he does. This set is probably the set that like goobed me the hardest this season. This really, because I had some speed on Annihilate. I looked it up. He had like 196 speed or something on this Mandibuzz. It was a 172 and 196 or something like that. A lot of speed on this Mandibuzz to outspeed this Annihilate. And if he didn't get this toxic, I do think my Annihilate either gets like Golden Go or gets like 2 or 3 kills, and I probably win the game because Golden Go's dead and Glamora is like freed up really hard. But because this is such a fast... I mean, this is a really great bring by him. Kudos to Cardinals29. Really smart Mandibuzz bring. It stops my Annihilate, and I'm forced to switch eventually because Quagsire is... like, it wouldn't matter at all if Quagsire... Because I would taunt Quagsire and I would eventually kill it. It wouldn't matter at all that he's unaware. But because I'm toxic, I just can't do anything. And I'm forced to switch. I get my Light Screen. The whole reason my Whimsicott is Light Screen is because Golden goes so free into it that Light Screen is like the only punish. And it is a good punish, don't get me wrong, because now I get my Heatran in for free. So I Magma Storm this Quagsire. Terra Grass, I get my rocks up. I don't have Terra Blast, I believe. Yeah, no Terra Blast, so I can't kill it. I go Annihilate, fearing that I'm going to get, what's it called? I go Annihilate, fearing that I'm going to get Toxic on it. He goes Mandy. I discharge. So, like, I'm getting some plays wrong here. I'm kind of already on the back foot because my win con is toxic. He gets his rocks up, so now we're kind of even on that front. I get my Zapdos out, and now I'm like, okay, he's for sure going to go Quagsire, right? So I get the play right, I Hurricane. So 2 Hurricanes kills, I just go for it. I get the Quagsire, so that's nice. I just discharge. I see no reason to switch. Because, yeah, that doesn't 2 KO. He gets the flinch. That's a huge flinch, because Zapdos actually is, like, stonewalling these 5. And if he doesn't get that flinch and I get my Roost off, I'm, like, much healthier, and the game is, like, much easier for me. That's a really huge flinch for him to get, because now I'm forced to go Whimsicott, and my Zapdos is low, and I need to find a turn to Roost. So I get one last Light Screen off on Darkrai. I also have to sack my Whimsicott because he got that flinch, mind you. I go Glim. I predict Golden Go, and he goes Mandibuzz, and I get it wrong. So that's a good play by him. I expect he thought I was like some hazard stacking, and he wanted to defog it, but it was still bad by me. And here I get my Roost, but at the expense of being toxic. So like that one flinch really messes me up. I probably should have switched again here and forced myself to not get toxic, because I make a misplay for sure allowing my Zapdos to get toxic, because Zapdos was like going to do a good job of 1v4ing the rest of the squad. So that's impatience by me. That's a bad job. He Terra Blasts. I miss Magma and I miss Willow. So I'm definitely getting like pretty unlucky this match. He goes Gold here. And I get it wrong. I'm just getting everything wrong again into this gold now. Like, I'm getting the Glamora turns wrong, and things are just looking really bad for me now. Because I'm forced to sack. And I should have been aggressive and gone for Psychic Fangs at some point. Because, like, I needed to recognize that I was behind and get aggressive eventually. Because Icicle Crash is going to 2-hit KO the Salamence here. But now this thing is just going to Mach Punch Spree his way to a victory. And I think I probably should have sacked Glamora before going Tran so that Tran could come out later. Or I actually just sacked Pow, because Pow couldn't come back in because I don't have boots. So, like, I misplayed this endgame for sure. This was, you know, a bunch of misplays and good prep on his part with the Mandibuzz, and then good, correct calls on the Glamora turns. Because if I got any of those Glamora turns right, I feel like the game could have been much easier. And the flinch mattered a lot on my Zapdos, because Zapdos was, like, walling these 5, and it really helped against Girder, who ended up cleaning this game. But, really just unfortunate playing on my part, and really good prep, especially on that Mandibuzz, for a really strong game overall. Definitely not my most well-prepped game. But, you know, so we end the season. So the Alabama Alakazams end the regular season of FBL 8-1, plus 31 overall. This is the leaderboard overall. We get on the board with our Heatran mainly, 11-2. It played all 9 games, so it was 6th in kills. We end up the 1 seed, 8-1, plus 31. Which means for playoffs, we end up with a double bye, the way it works in FBL is that you get a double bye when you're the first or second seed, and then in the semis, the final four, in the final four of the double bye, you fight the second seed as the 1 seed. It's a really interesting way of doing things. It's for, like, promotion purposes, I was told by Mano. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I don't love, like, the 1 seed fighting the 2 seed. I feel like the 1 seed should be able to fight the 2 seed in finals for, like, most potential hype factor. But I understand why it's done. So yeah, this was our leaderboards at the end of the season. Let's get into playoffs, shall we? So, for the first round of playoffs, as you saw there, again, I was faced up against the 2 seed, who ended up being Aiden. And Aiden's team was this. Terra Greninja, Terra Landorus, Scizor, Petra, Excadrill, Comfey, Latias, Gastrodon, Incineroar, Vikavolt. A very, very scary team. In particular, I was having a lot of trouble with Landorus, Terra Ground. We can look at a few mocks here. I believe I did a ton of mocks, like just so many mocks with Kuma for this match because I was so scared of this match. We had like so many weeks to prep for this one as well. So I ended up just doing so many mocks with Kuma. The real issue of this game was... Like, this is not even one of the first ones, because this one has Tatsugiri. Like, I was bringing Tatsugiri because I was getting Hazard stacked by Gastrodon and Excadrill initially. I was bringing... so, like, I saw this a lot. This was a common thing. Scizor was the answer in all the mocks. It was, like, max defense Scizor for Chiempao, but Chiempao is so strong. Crunch into Sucker, especially if you got a defense drop, would kill anyways. So that was really dangerous for the for him. So like these mocks are showing me obviously Pow was good, but unlike previously where Pow was just an option, Pow was kind of becoming my only option in a lot of these mocks I found. It was like the only real way I had of successfully winning. I saw Screens Latias, which was obviously very annoying. I had Annihilate for a long time, and I think I ended up with Annihilate in the game. It ends up being Scarf, I believe. I want to show you one of the initial ones where Landorus is like a huge issue. Basically, Terra Ground Landorus. Yeah, here we go. He Terra Grounds the Landorus. Slowking is my answer. Earth Power does a fuckload. Like, even without crit, that's a 2 KO. So I really was struggling with answers to Landorus, like all mocks. I could not find any way of dealing with it, really. And another major issue was if Heatran Terra Grassed, Petrarunt would... Like, Petrarunt's not here, but eventually comes in the later mocks. Petrarunt would become a major issue with toxicking all my guys. All my guys get toxic, and I'd run into, like, major issues. Like, here we go. Like, this is actually a really good one. Petrarunt just confuses all my guys, and I start hitting myself, and there's nothing I can do. So, like, these mocks were getting really frustrating. Until I found... I think this is enough of showing mocks. I'll just show what I found with Aiden V3. So, the Scarf Annihilate, I think I've shown at this point that Scarf Annihilate is my favorite Annihilate. Seed Bomb was like a last minute change for Gastrodon, so I could OHKO it. And if it's like not max defense and it's not Rindo Berry. And prevent rocks from going up if it's my lead, and his lead is Gastrodon. But here's what I found to do with Petrarunt, so that I could Terra my Heatran more freely. Corrosion, Glamora, like max Spadef. This thing deals with Petrarunt decently well. And it gets rocks up pretty reliably, which is really nice to get the chip that I need. This Slowking is here to deal with Landorus, even though it's not like a real answer to Landorus, because as you saw, Earth Power does so much damage. I still needed to try to have a switch into Landorus. This Zapdos deals with Greninja pretty well. It takes Greninja hits. It also can take Latias hits. And also just naturally because of its typing with that and the defense, it deals with Excadrill and Scizor really well as well, obviously. It can also, temporarily deal with Incineroar if need be. POW, I don't have Mortal Spin on my Glim, so I have Boots because rocks were getting up with this Excadrill or Gastro, and I really didn't want to deal with that. So it's 4 attacks. I have Ice Shard and Sucker, so that I could Sucker the Scizor after Crunch, but also Ice Shard for Lando, obviously. I really did feel like I needed both the whole time. Sacred Sword for Incineroar, obviously. I didn't really feel like I needed Icicle Crash. You didn't hit anything. You know, Lando's dying to Shard anyways most of the time. And Crunch is hitting Latias super effectively. So that felt good. And then this Molten Core Cow, the Heatran, was here to trap Gastrodon, Terra Grass, Taunt it, and then Terra Blast. You know, stop the Gastrodon from getting rocks up, trap the Gastrodon and kill it. It also can live a hit from Landorus, get chip on that. It can kill Scizor, and I have speed to... I believe this outspeeds max speed Adamant Scizor is what the speed is for. You'll see a lot of my Heatrons have like just a decent amount of speed in them. And then a lot of Spadef, because he's mainly special attackers. He's Greninja, Landorus, Petrarunt. You know, mainly the Pokemon that I expected to come were special attackers because his physical attackers were so bad into Zapdos. I thought, you know, that's why I have like Max Spadef, Slowking. That's why I have a lot, like mainly instead of HP, Spadef into Annihilate. I was like, okay, he's bringing mostly special attackers if I had to guess. I think I've kind of shown exactly what each guy is for enough. Let's get into the match. Alright. So he leads Landorus, so that's already immediately very scary, but I am Scarf. I U-turn here because I don't have Ice Punch anymore. I probably would have Ice Punched if I still had it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because if I Ice Punched, it would have just been free patch, and that's obviously not what I want. I go Hard Glamora, that is my answer. I see he's Rocky Helmet, so he's not Colbur, so that's good to know for my POW. So I get my rocks up. He has no way of removing him, so I know my rocks are up for the rest of the game, so that's really nice. He knocks my Zapdos, which is like annoying, but ultimately fine, I think. He defogs the rocks away. That is a way he can get rid of him, is defog Scizor. But I didn't think he'd be defog Scizor because I think it's a little too passive into me. And it also lets my Annihilate get +2 Defiant boosts. But he does end up being Defog Scizor, but it lets my Heatran get in for free, which is fine by me, because now I can Magma Storm, and there's not a great switching, because his Gastrodon has no pivoting move, so it's purely trapped, and I know that. So I'm free to Grass, because my Terra is opened up now that I have Glamora on the team, because Glamora was the last addition to this team, and it was the thing that finally made it click and allowed my Heatran to Terra without Petulant terrorizing me. And he can't Rocks, so that's a good call by me, especially because after discussion after the game, I did find out this is a Rindo Gastrodon. Or I think I find out here because I clicked Terra Blast, but we figure out this is Rindo, so Taunt was a really good play to stop him from getting any rocks up at all. So now I'm figuring he's not getting any hazards this game, which is huge, really nice for me, especially because I can get them up again here with Glamora, because there's just no way he can do much to me with his Petulant with the way I have my Glamora set up. He has Nightshade. That is like worst case scenario, but it's still fine. I believe I go for Toxic here. Yeah, I get the Toxic on Petch, so that's huge. Now this Petch is on a timer, and I'm like in a really nice position. I click Rocks here. I go Slowking. Like, because Slowking has Regenerator, right? So I'll just regenerate the health. I'm figuring he probably doesn't have even a Ghost move. I think I go hard back to Glamora, fearing a Toxic, but I'm getting my health back with Back Sludge. And now I go hard Slowking. I see Rock Slide, and I figure from that Rock Slide damage, this is probably physical instead of special. And I'm thinking, thank God. Physical is way easier to deal with. I Ice Beam, he fairies. I didn't think he would fairy his Lando here, if I'm being honest. I thought Gren was going to end up being the Terra in the end. But it ends up being Lando. So Gren is way weaker, which is really nice for me. And I'm feeling really positive about the situation. Rage Fist, I have no boosts. So I'm like, I really don't want to stay in at all. You know, this is from Rocky Helmet. That's not a hit. So I go hard POW on Recover, expecting it, and I'm like, alright, this is good. I get a free Crunch now. It's Comfey to take the Crunch, but it takes it decently well, so I'm like, this is probably a very close to max defense Comfey. If I had Ice Skull Crash, I probably would have clicked it straight up, but I didn't this match. I didn't really expect Comfey to come. I didn't think it really did much into Heatran particularly, especially with my Spadef Glamora. I Earth Power here, I get the chip off. He gets his Defog here now. But not before I Spiky Shield to get some recovery. I go Zapdos because I'm already knocked. But he just goes for Defog, which is fine. I figure I can probably get my rocks back up on Petulant later. I Heat Wave here. I get a crit. I don't know how much that mattered. It sucks for his Comfey to get that low. I U-turn here. He misses his Leech Seed, which is obviously very unfortunate. But I do feel comfortable just getting my rocks back up, I believe. I go for Toxic. So this is like sub... Yeah, this is sub Encore. But I'm seeing... pretty much what I'm seeing from this is that he can't hit Heatran, really. So I just go to Slowking here. And he's like recovering his health, but this is just like a support Comfey, so it can't do much of anything. I just break the sub, and then I think I go Chili out into Heatran, recognizing that he really can't do much to it, and I get free Magma Storms on this thing, and nothing wants to switch into Magma Storm, so now he's in a really tough spot. And he goes Petulant, but I hit the Magma Storm, and the combination of the Magma Storm chip plus the... what's it called? The Toxic takes him out. He goes for U-turn, so we're pretty much confirming full physical here, but my Slowking is still, even though it's Spadef for Lando, so I'm like, alright, I'll just go Slowking. And now Zapdos is here to deal with Scizor. So, I basically just call he doesn't have Ice Beam. We see later he does. If he Ice Beams here, this game could have gotten pretty interesting because he'd be +1. I still have my Scarf Annihilate, and I'm pretty sure Annihilate would live anything and just kill with CC, and I probably still win. But if he killed Zapdos here, it probably would have been a lot closer for sure. But he ends up just Dark Pulsing. And he ends up being Life Orb. And he Dark Pulses again, which is interesting. Because again, he could have just Ice Beam, but now he's super low, and there's no way this can win, because it's just not going to have the HP because of Life Orb. So I've pretty much got it on lock now, honestly. Like, he goes Scizor, but I just crunch, I kill Scizor. And now he goes Comfey, but like I recognize Heatran can only hit, it can't really hit Heatran. So he Terrible S, but it doesn't do enough, and I kill it with a Magma Storm. Comfey comes out, and it starts Draining Kissing me, but like I said, I know it can't do much to me, so I just Magma Storm for the chip. I taunt, so he can't do anything crazy. Crit doesn't matter too much. Maybe he lives, but like I still get it killed in the end. He Ice Beams, he kills me. So he gets the Battle Bomb boost, but he only has like three hits left, so there's absolutely no way he can win. It's just a matter of how many Pokemon are left. I Sucker here. He has Water Shuriken, so he predicts that well. So I'm like, alright, Pow can go down here, but and he ends up getting 2 again, so unlucky by him, so it ends up being a 5-0 instead of a 4-0, or 3-0 potentially if he kills the next one too. But I just Ice Shard that last one, and it's a win in semifinals of playoffs. So a really, really cool game. In Mox, things were just going so poorly for me that I'm really happy with how this turned out overall. Glamora really showing out, doing what it needs to do, getting rocks up continuously, forcing Scizor to defog, which in turn lets Heatran get in. Heatran ends up getting 4 kills this match. So this was really just a show out of Heatran going really crazy, doing exactly what it needs to do to win the game. And I absolutely love that for Heatran. Probably could have been a lot closer if the Greninja clicked Ice Beam. But I still, think Annihilate probably lives. So in the end, I think I probably win anyways, if I had to guess. But overall, just a really strong game. Really, really liked it a lot. Which leads on to finals. So in finals of FBL this season in Pseudo, I had a rematch against Folgado. Folgado is a really great player. He battled his way through the bracket on the other side, where he had to win, I believe, 3 other games just to get to finals. So, I am just, I was just really scared of this match, especially because it was so close last time. But I knew some tweaks that I wanted to make for sure. First of all, I for sure wanted Heatran to be grass this time because Wash was so scary last time, especially in Mox with the spec set. I really, I used Heatran to beat Wash in the game anyways. I wasn't going to focus so hard on Ceruledge this time because it didn't even end up coming last time. It ended up being Appleton to deal with Champao, which makes sense. Thick Fat Appleton Terra Fairy resists both stabs. It's pretty unique to have a Pokemon that can resist both of Champao stabs, plus Iron Valiant to a Vacuum Wave Pow. Along with that, I went with Banded Pow this time in finals over SD. I just didn't see myself getting another SD turn like I did last time, and with that Vacuum Wave, I really wouldn't be able to take the hit very well. I still had Whimsicott to deal with, like Cresselia, to deal with Zarude and all that. But this time I gave Whimsicott, if I remember correctly, U-turn to keep momentum up, and I gave it more defense so that it's really more of a Zarude answer than anything. So the Zarude doesn't get out of hand. Hippowdon, I gave a Citrus Berry over Rocky Helmet this time, so it can't get Poltergeist. Because I'm switching off of Heatran being the answer to Ceruledge, instead Heatran's like my rocker with moves to hit like Valiant and take a Valiant hit, or to hit Rotom Wash and that kind of thing, or to hit Treads maybe. In Mox I saw Treads a lot getting hit. So if I'm going to do that instead, 100% what I want to do with Hippo is deal with like Boulder and Saraledge. So I need to not have an item so that Poltergeist isn't doing like 60% every time. Body Press is just so Rotom Wash doesn't get in for absolute free this time. I opened up the rock slot because I put rocks on Heatran because Heatran's going to be the lead. So that means I can Body Press, and it does about 30% to Rotom Wash. So that was really the plan there. Zapdos gets U-turn over Volt Switch this time. I'm not making the same mistake. Everything else is pretty similar. I have more defense than Spadef this time, just because Heatran has a lot more Spadef, so it can deal with Valiant as well. And that way this thing can take a hit from Zarude or potentially Saraledge if need be, and hit them back hard. Like I said, POW is banded this time. I've got Crash, I've got Psychic Fangs to deal with the Iron Valiant. I've got, and also Psychic Fangs is just the best move to hit Appleton with after it's fairied, honestly. Nothing else really can hit it neutrally. Crunch to deal with Cresselia. Icicle Crash to hit Zarude and Treads neutrally as well. And then Ice Shard for priority. And then I've got, instead of Annihilate this time, Glamora. I saw what happened last time with Gunk being really effective, and I thought if he brings Fairy Appleton again, his really poison weak. You know, Zarude plus Valiant plus Appleton plus, you know, Rotom Wash probably takes like 50 to 60 from Sludge Wave because Glamora is really strong. So I changed it. Basically, it's the exact same idea, but just more effective at the end game I want, which is to sweep with Sludge Wave. That's like the main plan, is to clean up with Sludge Wave. So like if we look at a few of the replays here for this, because I did a bunch of them. Like I have Grass Strand here, so this time it's dealing okay. And I'm stopping Appleton. I just feel way stronger about the team this time for dealing with these guys. But I will say Saraledge is still very, very scary. In particular, I want to shout out Za, who called the set that ended up happening, which is a bulk up taunt set. That is a really, really scary set because it stops my, what's it called, Hippo from walling it. Because it can bulk up so Earthquake doesn't do enough, and then Bitterblade the health back, and it can taunt so that I can't Whirlwind him. I probably should have seen that coming and made some countermeasures on Heatran, like probably put Citrus back on Heatran as well, so that it could wall Bitterblade Poltergeist. But in mocks, I never saw it, so I didn't fully take it seriously, probably when I should have. Saraledge was the most serious breaker that I was scared of, both before and in the regular season and in finals. Saraledge was the thing that really could cost me the season. So I over-prepped for it before, and then probably under-prepped for it a little this time. It's a really scary Pokemon. I want to give a shout out to Blue Fusion, who at the very last minute gave me a ton of mocks at the end to really help me solidify exactly what it is I want to do in this game. He had a lot of unique sets, like this Weakness Policy, or this Citrus Berry, Acrobatics, Zarude, Screens, Rotom, this, what's it called, really difficult to kill Saraledge. It just like spamming setup, and it was really difficult to deal with, and I ended up losing this match, which really helped me understand like what I have to do against this setup spam stuff. And really helped me confirm that I wanted Whimsicott, because Whimsicott ended up being the Pokemon, like the 6th slot was between Whimsicott and Slowking and Annihilate. Because I thought like maybe at first I could bring Double Scarf Glamora and Annihilate since they both worked, but I figured, and then I was like, why have two of the same thing? I just only need, I only need one of them for it to work, if that's my plan. He started bringing this Ice Saraledge, but it also had the Herb to stop me from Encoring it with Whimsicott, which was really smart. Blue Fusion ended up bringing just a lot of really smart tactics into me to make me realize the potential of Cerulege and like Calm Mind, Booster Speed, Valiant, and really start thinking about how it is I need to beat those and what it is I need to preserve in order to win the game in the end. Uh, and like the way I wanted to win, like you see here, Glamoris like cleans up at the end here. Always, always, always the plan in this was to mimic what I was doing with Annihilate last time, but more purposefully with a 100% accurate move with a stronger poison type with Glamora. Glamora, who was kind of like downtrodden all season, not necessarily the best Pokemon, was really, I was giving it its chance to shine here. I thought it had a really good matchup. I just needed to get Treads down. I saw in all the previous games that he did, he let Treads go down early usually. Usually Treads is one of his first to fall. If I can replicate that, it's like what happened last time, I think I can win with Glamora. And with that, we will look at the game. Kind of my mindset. So I lead Heatran like I did with all my mocks. I really wanted my rocks up. And I get him here. He goes Cerulege. That's a lot happened in a lot of mocks too. I go Hippo. He bulks up. And as we'll see, he is this taunt bulk up stuff. And I really am in a heap of trouble here. Because he poltergeists, but he can obviously Bitter Blade me. So I'm forced to Earthquake. But I see the weakness policy and the speed boost from weak armor. And I'm like, oh no. This thing, I can't let it heal at all. If I let it heal even 1 iota, I'm finished. So I need to get the sand back up because I need chip from sand to get it in range of Ice Shard from Ban Pow. But I can't let it get a Bitter Blade off. If it gets a Bitter Blade off at all, I insta-lose. So I'm forced to go Heatran, and I lose Heatran, the MVP of my team. You know, Heatran was like 15-3 up to this point in finals. And I was like, oh no, I'm feeling so bad. But the Sand Chip gets it within range of Ice Shard for Chien-Pao. I was looking at the calc. It does literally 20 to 26%, something like that. 20 to 24, 25. So I'm like, thank you, Sandchip. Thank God I have Hippowdon on this team. Bless Hippowdon. I bring out the Whimsicott on the Rotom because my Heatran is gone, so I don't really have a Rotom counter anymore. Luckily, he's not the Specs Rotom that was in the mocks at the very, very beginning of this Fulgado saga. He goes Treads here, but I'm like, okay, this is just an easy way to get Hippo in to heal off some HP. He spins away the rocks, so I'm not having rocks for the rest of the battle, which is unfortunate. I can't let Cerulege get his health back, though. I go Whimsicott on the Zarude. It's my answer to it, like, pretty much 100% of the time. I U-turn out. He gets a weak armor boost. But I go Pow, so I have another chance to Ice Shard. I Ice Shard this Rotom. So Rotom's really low now, which is really good for my Glamora endgame, because I'm still seeing the line if this is Fairy Appleton, which is looking like what he's going to do since he never terrored his Cerulege. I know Whimsicott at this point could just click Moonblast, because it seems like he's bringing his Cerulege in every time. So Whimsicott picks up the kill. He goes Appleton, and I'm like, I don't really know what Appleton wants to do to me. But I'm just going to U-turn. And I'm going to go Glamora and get the, I did know. I knew he wanted to Terra Blast because last game he Terra Blasted with, to kill my Whimsicott with his, Appleton. But I didn't let him do it this time because this time I have U-turn and I have Glamora to resist instead of a super effective poison type, attack user, which would be Annihilate. He goes Treads and I know he's going to go Treads and I knew, like, I knew in my mind he's always going to go Treads on Glamora, click Earth Power. Just because, like, what's an Appleton going to do if I click Earth Power and he stays in? Apple Acid, I live that. It does, like, 35%, and I just switch after, and it's, like, fine. Like, I go Zapdos. It's not, like, ideal, but, like, I'm still living, and if I Earth Power and I get it right, and Treads gets low, the game just opens up way hard. So I call Earth Power, I get it right, and then I play it super safe. I'm like, what if he Scarf Treads? All we've seen is Spin. I don't know for sure it's not Scarf Treads, so I just go Hippo. I see EQ, and I'm like, all right, let me kill this treads. Body press will kill anyways, and it would pretty much with sand get Rotom almost at death's door. I body press, I kill it, and I'm like, all right, he's got 4 Pokemon that are Sludge Waveable now. So he just goes Rotom. I just sack Hippo. Hippo's first death of the season. If you've been paying attention, Hippo hasn't died all season. He's been a really commendable, amazing soldier. I love Hippowdon from this season. I think I showed that it can be usable if you just use it for what it's good for. Very, very commendable season from Hippowdon here. A great job, King. Great rest. You've killed Treads this game too, and you used your Sand Chip to get Ceruledge low so we didn't get swept. So like, even in death, Hippo does its job. Fly high. Fly high, my goat. And I go Pow here instead of Glim. Again, just in case I want to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. I crunch here. I go Whimsy. He Apple Acids. And I'm just sacking Whimsy so I can get my Sludge Waver in here. But he recovers, so I'm like, alright, well this gives me an opportunity to get my Whimsy's health back. So I click Encore, and I start getting my health back. And now I can just Moonblast. And I Moonblast again. And now here, finally, I get another Leech Seed so that I can get a better switch in. And now here, finally, I allow Glimmora to come in on the recover. And beautifully executed how I envisioned it, Scarf Glimmora is able to pick up all these poison weak Pokemon. It is not booster speed. Even if it was, Valiant can't Oko Glimmora, except for like Psychic, I think. And Glimmora picks up the last 4 kills beautifully to get to a positive differential on the season. MVP for sure of finals. I love Glimmora. Even though it didn't get a lot of kills this season, its presence was felt, and in playoffs it came up huge. Whether it was Pecharunt in that last game being the final piece to collect it, or being the clutch MVP with 4 kills in this game. And that's all the teams that I brought every week to FBL this season. Kind of my thought process behind everything that I did. An explanation of the mocks that I did and that kind of thing. It was a really great season, really, really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I thank you, Mano, for letting me be here. I had a great time. I did end up double promoting, which is nice. I'm excited to be back next season. I just kind of wanted to give an explanation of what it is that I did throughout the season in terms of my teams and kind of the way I like to play. This kind of like weird fat style of using just kind of like bulky but strong mons. Still in Gen 9, kind of antiquated way of playing. I had a really good time this season. This isn't my first draft league. I've been doing draft league for a long time, but it is my first time, stepping into the wider draft world. I have to thank Kuma again for bringing me into the FBL when I asked, and I have to thank Mano and the rest of the mods for allowing me to play. And I have to thank my fellow PB Pseudo coaches for playing with me this season and having such a fun time. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace out. This is Ben.